Yeah, welcome in. 2 o'clock. We have a couple hours to go here on a Friday afternoon that's turning into yet another red one, unfortunately. If you were off for lunch maybe or headed out, here's a look at how things are shaping up with 2 hours to go. 0.72 for the S&P 500, the Dow a full percent right now to the downside. The NASDAQ basically flat. 1.2 for the TSX here in Toronto, 1.3 for Brazil. Crude oil down, 2%. That's off the lows. We had crude down about 3% when I sat down this morning, 2.5% throughout the morning, 3%, 5%. Yeah, it's getting ugly for cryptocurrencies heading into the weekend as well. That's the S&P 500, the lay of the land anyways, as we head into the 2 o'clock hour. Adobe, 3.3%. We'll talk about that coming up here a little bit off of earnings and a forecast that topped estimates out after the close yesterday. Pretty good report for Adobe right across the board. Same story for healthcare stocks, not so much on the report, but big movers in this group today. Moderna standing at 6.7% to the downside for Moderna. It is all about pharmaceutical names. Healthcare equipment makers, also the entire group under pressure. You can see real estate stocks really getting hit, hammered, in fact, into the weekend. 5.6%. Recession fears coming back into play. Higher interest rates hurting this group as well. That's the energy sector overall. We'll talk about crude coming up here because it was on the watch list this morning. But individual oil producers under a ton of pressure. APA 4.6% downside today. MRO, DVN here all 3+% in negative territory. This group up here as well. Some of the automakers here, Ford, GM, and the big one, Tesla, another 4% on top of what has happened already this week. If you're wondering, that's Meta. Meta still 3.25 higher on the day, coming off that JP Morgan upgrade this morning we told you all about in the pre-market. Hope your afternoon is off to a pretty good start here. We'll take you right through to the close as we head towards, it's going to be a negative week, it looks like, for all three U.S. markets, but coming off of, remember, it seems like a long time ago, but CPI was Tuesday. And then we got the Fed on Wednesday, both kind of contradictory. CPI better than expected. The Fed comes out very, very hawkish, saying higher interest rates, more increases to come heading into 2023. Let's get into a little bit of a review session, shall we, of what we were talking about if you joined us in the pre-market. Ton of opportunities available this morning. Make sure you grab the watch list every day and then come join us at 8:30. We spend a whole hour in the pre-market getting you set and ready for the open. Neil's here today. He's going to lead the way with a look at one of his trades.
Welcome, your Trade of the Day, brought to you by Day Trade the World. As always, Tesla, Tesla, Tesla. Where art thou, Tesla? To the downside. However, I did have an idea for long. It's not always about whether you were right. It's about how you execute the trade and how you can learn from it. So I want to start things off a little bit here, just going with the higher time frame. I've blown up the 15-minute chart because this is what I came in looking at. Hindsight's 20/20, and you can see what's actually happened here today. But if you remove this, what I see is that 155 bottom, stock been under a tremendous amount of pressure. You had a wick bottom through yesterday, rejection of that 155 to the downside, holding above 150, actually holding around 52s, and then a pure breakout, reestablishing 55 as support, especially in the afternoon. So the way I was looking at it and approaching today was I like the 155 and on the long side. Now, I did love a 161 short. So pie in my face for yesterday liking a 161 short, seeing this pop and fade and not taking it. That's a separate story, and I'll get to that in a little bit here. But my plan was to go long on dips into 150. The initial dip bounces hard right at the open, 156.50. Like, okay, that's probably good enough for a little bit of a scalp trade. You're getting that whipsaw snapback action. Remember, it's also quad witching, so you're expecting there to be more volatility, and I'm thinking we'll see some seesaw action at the open. Had a meta long that I maybe covered too quickly as well there. But grab that quick little bid, grab the scalp trade, and all of a sudden it's heading right back into my line in the sand. It's that 155 level. We see a double bottom at 155 and right back into scalp mode. Take it a couple of times, scalp a couple of times in for 50 to a buck, and then it plays into 158. And this is where at least, if you're not going to be with the trend, you've got to at least accept the reality of the situation you were in. Because as it gravitated toward here, you can go back and watch the morning show. What I was sort of telling people was, you know what, if it breaks back down beneath this 157, I'm just going to cover, trail the 156. It only wants to give me $1. I'll just take the $1. And as it started failing up here, I changed my mind. I didn't want to have a trailing, I did still want to have a trailing stop, but I was going to make it an even tighter stop. Because the way I saw it is I can trail this to the 50, just bank an extra 50 pennies on that trade, make $1.50 per share instead of $1 per share. Because if it's going to break 158 here, then I should be able to find my way back into a long anyways. That's the plan. Why let it come all the way back, show even more signs of bearish, let alone that wick top up to 161, show more bearish action, and I'm just giving it more into the back end. I went to the well, I think, one too many times here, and this is where I'd say this is the mistake that got made. There's no need to take that long. When you're looking for a dip buy, a lot of times it's going to be counter trend. And how you get the fill or how it trades into you is going to matter. It's a much bigger, different situation taking the initial push down or a nice consolidation support trade. But when then it holds the higher low and then comes screaming down into it, you don't want to catch a falling sword. I did, so the third time was not a charm when I get stopped out. What happens when 155 eventually breaks? That's the turning point line in the sand for the short. Do I eventually short it? Yeah, I'm short it right now. And the reason why is, should I have had 155? You miss it, you got to move on. If you look at that bottom from yesterday, right in here, body of these candles here at that 52, there was a little bit of a wick beneath that, but it's that 52 level into 150 that I was concerned with. So that 150 never breaks. Sure, everyone wants to look at that same breakout, but it establishes 52 as resistance. That's support from yesterday at the lows. So resistance turns into support. Scalp the 151.5 in front of it. Takes them out 150.50. I'm actually holding onto a piece in case we can get the 150 break. So I'm not taking the break. I'm actually allowing it to get through if it wants to make that move. You're not always going to be with the trend. That's the reality in trading here. But you can still be up on a stock as long as you have a plan of action, as long as you have an out, and as long as you can recognize when things are changing in front of your face. So yesterday, I liked this Tesla short. Today, I didn't come in thinking the same short, which would have been gold. Still able to make something on it because we accepted that we were against the trend and got out of Dodge when the time was right. That's Tesla. That's your trade of the day. As always, check that QR code below and always check us out, Day Trade the World.
Yeah, pretty impressive. 4% on top of what has happened already this week for Tesla. That 150, I mean, we were talking at the end of last week about, it seemed like Tesla wanted 160 and then 150, obviously the next stop to the downside. Unreal. Obviously, we learned earlier in the week that Elon was in there doing some selling as well. That's the link to the watch list, guys. Make sure you grab that every day before you come join us then at 8:30. As I mentioned, has everything you need to know in the pre-market on it. Here is what everyone's talking about that I can see anyways. A lot of people still putting out notes and warnings and all kinds of cautionary tales heading towards the weekend here about that R word coming back into play after what Fed Chair Powell comes through on Wednesday with another 50 basis point hike, but then says more hikes to come, more higher for longer type hikes to come as well. As far as this inflation fight goes, it's nowhere near conclusion. So we had a lot of down here, a lot of these tech names on watch this morning. There was a bit of a bump to the upside. We'll get into Meta here in a second and Adobe as well. There's EXAS still moving around this afternoon. There was that cautionary note on GM's robo-taxi that the National Highway Traffic Safety Board, whatever the name is looking into. But let's talk some tech here to kick things off, because it was very obvious very early that not only was Meta relatively strong versus Apple, versus Amazon, we'll talk about as well, but held up very nicely, guys, heading into the open on that note from JP Morgan suggesting some of the cutting they've already done, some of the cost cutting they've already done has not only started to take effect, but they're planning for more positive things heading into the new year.
Well, I did say this morning that I had what would eventually be the worst $1.50 move out there, and which was Meta this morning. And look, you don't always get it. Well, sometimes you get it right, and then you still get it wrong, if that makes sense. So I got in right on Meta. I got out wrong. And realistically, I'll show you why I liked it. That it's not just that it was a pre-market low. Come on, 3-minute chart. You don't want to work? There you go. Here's the 3-minute. It's not dissimilar to what I was looking for on Tesla I was just talking about, but you had this breakdown at 118, right? So you had previous support down there, and then you had a breakdown at 118 and it never looked back. And then you gap right back, putting in the same support as before. So essentially you spend 1 day beneath the level, immediately reclaim it, and then hold it as support. Exactly the same setup as Tesla. The only problem was how I ended up treating the trade because, and this is what happens when you get a little bit of a bias. I had a bias to the south side today. Tesla was not working as strongly off the open. And I said to myself, okay, well, I'm just going to play inside of this same range here. If it's going to bounce 118, I'll play it to this previous top 119, and then I'll play out in front of 120. Bingo, bango, bongo. The Bob's your uncle, and that's the structure of the trade. Only Meta had different plans. Meta decided it wanted to go to 123.5. So I ended up sitting in the entire move out, not believing it enough. And this can be the problem. Like having a bias to the short side this morning is definitely a good part of the reason you'll be positive today. However, when you end up on the right side of one of the strongest stocks, you know, it doesn't end up all that well. I can probably say the same thing about Netflix. You know, Netflix never broke my entry longs off 290s. But I stopped taking that long at past 10 o'clock because I was bearish in the market. So when it presented the same opportunity, I was like, oh, it's going to break down. I don't want a long. This is breaking down. Market's going down. So this can happen when you're biased. It works well for you overall, but there are some missed opportunities. I got out of Meta too early. I stopped trading Netflix to the long side, and then those were the two relatively strong stocks here today.
Yeah, I mean, Meta, we talked about Meta, like it is up on a negative day, but at the same time, let's not forget Meta is kind of boxed in here. We drew this, and this is what we kind of talked about this morning, is like ranges. It's running strong, so it's too far away from the bottom to pick up a long because we were at 118, 119, so you can't go after it if you're looking for a 112 long, right? Well, 112 stop, so that's out the door. But at the same time, when it gets into 122, 123, you got to put it against 125, you got to set up the short. And for me, I had a lot more going on, so I didn't really pay attention to Meta. Do I really want to short a name that's running against the market? Well, the market's going down. Meta's still positive. It's at the top end of its range. If the market at any point starts to taper off and start to solidify on the bottom end, then Meta's going right through that top. So you got to make that decision, but it is a multi-day top, and even if it's not a breakout today, I would definitely keep an eye on this one. 125 top on the upside, and then 112 on the bottom. And whichever direction it breaks out, I think there might be a decent run through that breakout.
All right, let's talk some Adobe here. Coming off a decent report after the market closed last night. We get this forecast from them as well, pointing to higher revenue, higher EPS, both in Q4 of this year, but also heading into Q1 of next year. So right out of the gate, Adobe, the strongest stock this morning in the pre-market, coming off a big move after market, but ended up being a bit of a tricky trade really out of the open this morning for Adobe.
We're going to save the best for last because you'll see on the position board, I'm long 339. Arun's short at 350. On a dime, by the way, like not 349.90 like a normal day trader. He's literally short at 350.00, the exact price. Whoever puts orders at that price, usually we never do, because most traders wouldn't, but it's a great entry price. I like the report, I like the guide. The problem that Adobe had, for me at least, is when I pull up my 15-minute, which is where I like to look for my entry points and support resistance off the 15, trend on the daily, and then we'll show our executions. By the way, Cosm's getting to $8, and I said this morning, if it fails an 8 break, I'm shorting that stock. So it's very close. I don't want to ignore Cosm because it's getting there. But 338 on Adobe, this was previous resistance turning into support, and then it got broken down. You spend 1 day, same setup as Tesla, same setup I was just talking about with Meta. Spend 1 day below the resistance level, and then I'm looking for dips into 338. I was wanting that to happen at the open. It ends up running higher into the open. So when the market's cratering to the downside, I let it bounce off the bottom, reclaim it, put in a higher low. So that's a 338.5. Bounce off the level I want to see. It puts in a higher low. I go long off the higher low. And then at this point, it's so weak that I'm playing this. It's about a $2 range. We are in the end of the day here. I don't think this has the legs to get back into 45, 50. So it's more along the lines of a risk $1, 50 cents to $1, depending on where you want your stop, to make one, to make two on the second half of the trade. So that's the R&R, because I didn't really get the snap down that I wanted. But Arun, you got the trade that matters when it comes to Adobe. Although I will say this, 332 doesn't look that likely. So you'll have to. I think you might have to settle for an $11 winner.
I mean, okay, let's, yes, we have 350. I will say I did get some out. I'm not holding all of it for the sake of holding it. I did get some out around so that's Tesla, where am I going? Adobe, this is the chart. I did get some out here around 340, 20 something here on the way back up. It did look like it was starting to stabilize around 340. I'm like, okay, I know I want 332, but let's just take some out because at least we locked in about $9.60 something, 80 something cents actually. In front of 340, it could turn into a problem. So we'll see how that one plays out. But for now, we are still targeting 332. Trail on this is going to be 345. So even if you average out everything, I'm going to walk away with like a $7.5 to $8 winner off of Adobe. But we are still going to hold on to see if we can get that 332. And the trade was almost just like Meta's, right? It was a strong move. This chart was, for me, a little bit cleaner because of what it was doing in the pre-market compared to Meta. Remember, Meta was starting off in the middle of the range. This was already at the top of its range, and it was starting to act a little funny in terms of resistance. So I'm like, you know what? If that's the case, the market's heading down, this stock's starting at the top, it's going to really have to show some strength to break the top with the market heading down. So we went for the short. It did run up against us. I mean, to be fair, the reason I went for 350 exactly is because on a stock like this, I know I'm getting filled at 350.
That's true.
On some other names, like, you know, like the cheaper names, you sit in front of the even dollar level because you don't, highly unlikely you get that even dollar fill because of the volume that's going to be there. On a stock like Adobe where there's very little volume, I can get that fill no problem. Like because the odds are if I'm getting filled, I'm getting run over as I'm getting filled, right? As soon as I get filled, I'm going to be out 50, 60 cents automatically as soon as that fill comes through based on the spread. So no problem getting the fill here. It did run up against us and then finally made its move. And now the reason I'm holding on for that bottom end, we're in the middle of the range. Like it's going to have to really make a move back into 335 to fail this mid-range move. If we go quiet in the middle of the range, that's perfectly fine. That's acceptable. But if it actually turns back up, there's a possibility that 355 might get taken out or 356 might get taken out. So for now, we've got some out, locked in some profit, trail on the rest, and see if we can get our target down here towards the bottom end. If we don't, we run out of time. Whatever happens, we'll deal with it as we get closer to the imbalances because I do have to worry about imbalances affecting this position as well because Adobe's fairly thin. Imbalances, if they come in a certain way, specifically positive, this thing's going to take off on me and I may not be able to get out the prices I want and then have to deal with slippage as well. So for now, Adobe range play short side against 356, doing well, up $10.50 at the moment. And I've already locked in half here and see if we can't get another $7 out of this one. For now, though, you see the other two positions. I've got Tesla, playing Tesla short here against 53, trying to make a break for 50, 150. We'll see if we get that one. I think everyone's looking at their 150 break as the way to get in on that one. But I'm going to try to play it now. It's doing nothing right now. But again, Tesla going into the end of the day, Neil and I were talking about it, how the weighting is going to be an issue, especially with Tesla's decrease in value lately. So how's that going to help with indexers? And if the index itself is going to kind of reduce some weight, then that means the index following funds and whatnot also have to reduce weight in their portfolio. So I do feel like there's going to be some pressure on Tesla going into the end of the day. So I'm trying to jump in front of that and see if we can get a run towards the end. I could be wrong. I mean, who knows? Maybe they want to buy up Tesla because it's cheaper. Who knows? But at the same time, for me, putting up $1.70, $1.80 to see a shot underneath 150, I think it's worth it. So we're going to take that shot and see if we can get that move.
All right, still seeing a little bit of weakness here as far as Amazon is concerned this afternoon. Just noticed we're rolling back towards this 87 level that came into play at the end of the morning, kind of held throughout the midday. There was a couple of interesting notes on Amazon to the minor side. We did try and go green initially. You zoom out here a little bit. That was the close yesterday. We tried to go green initially back to 89. JP Morgan cutting their target price to 130 from 145. There was also a note about that video game that came out as well. But here we go, back towards day lows, guys, for Amazon.
A bit frustrating, Amazon, but I want to get to that one in a second. I actually have the chat up here because I want to acknowledge a couple of super chats. Najee Springs, thank you for the super chat. We appreciate it. You're saying you had a horrible week. Can I get some bars at the end of the day? We got you. Well, I usually what happens if you're just tuning in for the first time, like if we get the like counter on YouTube on a Friday up to 1,500 on the closing show, then I'll spit something. I basically just do a song that I already know and that I like and give that to you guys after the close. So stick around. I don't think we'll have any problem getting to 1,500. We're going to have a good show this afternoon. And then Michelle Hebert talking about GameStop here. Key level 19 to 21 support on the daily, weekly. RSI is bullish, divergence on the hourly. Could we see it run? You're long at 20. I'll have a look at GameStop. Maybe I just want to get to Amazon here because I got wicked out and I want back into this thing, and I don't know if I'm going to get a chance to get this. But Amazon, let's go higher time frame because let's go to the 15-minute. That's going to be a bit of a mess, that daily chart there. But this 87 level has been an absolute stone wall on Amazon, and it's been bouncing. It broke it by 4 cents, so it really hasn't broken the level just yet. And much like we're both short Tesla in front of that 150, my thought was to do the same thing with Amazon. I don't know that I was ever convicted enough because I keep getting wicked out of it. And if I get a chance at 87.5, I feel like I should just jump into the trade, be willing to give it a little bit more room, and not wait for it to get down into 87 and break because everybody's going to be on that trade. Well, not everybody, but I mean, it's just a level that everybody's watching. If too many people are looking at the same price and everyone hammers the short when it breaks that level and there's too many stops that run there, well, if it snaps back, everyone's ready to exit at the same time. My goodness, are you kidding me, Cosm? This is it on Cosm. Cosm just broke. 825 is the equivalent 1 to 25 reverse split, and it got to 50s. This was exactly the move I was looking for to say it makes this break, doesn't get through the next level. I'm going short, and I'm giving it to the high of the day. So this is the first time that I'm short Cosm today. Yes, I got suckered out of a long at $4. You can see that on the chart. It wicked me out at 5, only to run to 8. But I've been waiting till it got to fair value from yesterday's close and then made a run there. So I'm now short at 820, risking to 50 plus slippage. I'll probably, you know what, on this stock, I might give it a little bit more room than that. It doesn't really matter that much whether you risk 30 cents or 50 cents, but I might not want to have the most obvious stop in the world up there. So just going to adjust this up. My limit's going to go a little bit further. I think there's room back at least to 7.50, if not even the $6 level. If you're just tuning in this morning, I don't remember the last time I saw a stock do a 1 to 25 reverse split, trade all the way up to $6, and then for a half an hour was trading in the pennies again. It was trading 4 cents on the dollar for like 20 minutes this morning. I wasn't watching it. I was going through my morning prep and not seeing it. By the time I got to this thing, it was breaking out through a buck, and I realized what had happened, and I came to the realization that I might have missed literally the best trading opportunity of the year. And I'm not saying that lightly because there's about 1 million shares that went off beneath 35 cents. 1 million shares went off beneath 35 cents, and it was down here for about 5 to 10 minutes. Fair value, based on the split, was $8.25. Based on where it was trading in the aftermarket, fair value was $6. It was trading in the pennies for 1 million shares for an hour, for like 20 minutes or so, and I wasn't there to grab it. Either way, the trade here for me is short off the high day.
Yeah, I'm not even going to bother with Amazon because I'm long Amazon trying to make a move against 87.
You're long?
Yeah, but I've been long from this morning, though. That was me trying to play against 87. I haven't gotten out. I haven't gotten stopped out yet, so I'm going to get stopped out on Amazon through 87. But Cosm, damn. Like, we played this, and this is one of those mistakes that I'm just going to have to really think about because these opportunities don't come around too often, where it's a mathematical error that causes a stock to do this kind of a move here. So if you are a stock that is trading at whatever price, $8 and change, and then overnight you do a split and someone misunderstands that split and they see the chart and they say, oh no, it broke down and it's time for me to get out, and they drive it all the way down to 50 cents. I'm talking about this pre-split or the after-split price, right? Let's kind of count that in. If it's trying to trade at $8 and then all of a sudden they try to bring it down to where it was pre-split, nothing technically has changed. That should not bring the value down that far in. And we got in early at $3 looking for this exact move, which is it goes from 3, goes back to fair value. I was pegging it somewhere between 5 and 6. It's a decent payout on a $3 name. I don't tend to play these names, but that was just a mathematical trade. And you know what? They halted me out of the position. That's essentially what happened. I was trying to day trade this when it really isn't a day trade. It's actually more of a get in and let the math play itself out throughout the day kind of situation. And here it is back to where it should be pre-split, which is based on yesterday's close, based on its split value, 850 is where it closed at. So here we are right to it, and we may actually turn positive on the day here
It is up on the day. Huh? It is up on the day now.
It's up on the day, 3% up on the day, up 28 cents. So there goes Cosm, guys, taking out. This is where it should have been instead of that whole mess. You don't get this kind of opportunity too often.
Well, okay, so let me just.
Okay,
yes, from a mathematical standpoint, this is where it should have been. But remember, like a reverse split is not a positive thing. It's a penny stock, and it's doing a reverse split because it's trying to regain compliance and trade above $1. So like the reason for doing a reverse split is not a flattering one, generally speaking. So yes, it's at fair value now and actually a bit above that. But generally speaking, a reverse split is bearish. And what you would normally see is it trade up around closer to fair value and then drift down the next couple of days. This just did something completely out of bounds here. Like yeah, it's weird. I've never really seen it. I've never really seen anything like this before. But yeah, we have other things to talk about. But Cosm, I doubt there's anything that's going to move as much as this in the afternoon, which is why we're going to have to talk about it.
Easy volume as well on that stock all day long. So much liquidity to contend with. It's unreal. Here's Novavax. We had Novavax back on the watch list today. Back-to-back huge days to the downside. I mean, it's crazy that this thing's $10 on a discounted offering of 6.5 million shares that comes through. Lowest price in 2.5 years. You go back to pre-pandemic. During the pandemic, remember, we're $200 plus. Here's NVAX down 7.3 again today. It bounces off of 10 though if you go to a higher time frame. I mean, this thing was, if you look at just the pre-market, we were just resuming this nice trend that happened yesterday, and then we get the market open and we've done nothing but go straight up.
Though, right? We were talking about the daily, the 15, and then it just trended all day down. That was the breakout point. That's going back days. That 15, if you pull up the daily chart, that 15 break would have opened the door to the downside. There goes the NVAX to the downside. Moderna, I believe, moved as well with this. And they're just continuing the trend overnight. And now, at some point, they're going to have to catch their breath. It seems like they got underneath 10, started to, you know what, rethink this idea of, hey, maybe we should actually take some profit on these shorts off that 15 break. And now here we go, making a little move. It's not a whole lot, but the trend is still intact, even with this bounce. I mean, like if you wanted to kind of draw trend lines, and I'm not too big on drawing trend lines. I just like to at least visually kind of put that in there. 0.1, 0.2, connect the two dots, and what do you get? We're somewhere between 10.50 and 11 even. For the trend to break, and it's still intact, right? The trend is technically still intact on NVAX, so this could just be a little, somewhat of a relief rally as we kind of get ready for the next leg. And when you go to the daily, there isn't a whole lot that's stopping you from continuing this. That's a trend line I drew, and as you can see, we got nothing. We absolutely have nothing. That 15 has been setting up since October, so the fact that we finally took it out and we're starting to move, you've got to expect a long-term move here on NVAX as it keeps coming on down through that bottom end. It could even bounce to 15, but that just opens up an opportunity for potential shorts on a bounce. So here we are kind of waiting for this, and I'm starting to see Tesla starting to make a move. Okay, Tesla, keep on creeping towards that 150 to get going, but it is starting to make a move to the downside here at Tesla, and also Adobe as well. Maybe 338s are in play at this point.
Oh, it's in play. I'm on the bid in front of 338. All I'll say about NVAX, just very quickly, is I played the short off 10. We had the reverse, not at $10, but I wanted the reverse at 10.10 after it made a wick top earlier, so I reversed long at 10.10. I'm still in that trade, looking for it to break 10.50 here. It just doesn't seem to want to go. Like I've been getting out, scalped a bunch out, and then I just stopped taking it out, looking for now a flat top break, and then a breakout maybe running us up to 11. So this is more about how far it's come down. I could go to the 15 minutes, just faster for me to zoom out on my 3. In the last couple of days, it's been a disaster. And then just looking for a clean little breakout. If it gets to 11, fantastic. I think that's far enough for NVAX, and I'll be happy to do it. I want to show you guys what just happened in Cosm. because it did stop me. Had that stop just above 850, stopped me out, made the run at $9, which, by the way, just stopped me out again. I made the run at $9, turn around at 9, I grabbed a 9 short, then it took out the high of the day. This is sort of my approach. I'm almost never going to, the long here, that's where I want to be long in a stock like this. Maybe even $5 was worth it. Maybe even the $6 was worth it. But at this point, it trading green on the session, I'm only looking one direction. I'm really just looking for the pullback short because I think the risk to reward at this point is going to favor it. It's going to be easier to manage risk instead of taking longs at the top. I get it, it's mooning, but if you're not long from earlier, this is not something I would ever personally chase. I'm just always looking for these shorts. As I say that, it looks like it wants to try to come back. It's always after it wicks you out. It's always after. It's almost like it's not going to happen until somebody like me, until somebody makes a top wick, which at least for the record, I just want to look back to see where I got filled. Yeah, I didn't make top wick. Somebody got out 1 cent higher than I did. So that guy, I'm the sucker, but that guy's a little bit worse than me, or girl.
All right, let's talk some oil stocks here. I was just having a look at this one as well. Krispy Kreme on a big move to the downside. This afternoon, they updated, I guess there was an investor day or something. They updated their long-term strategy and looks like it was a little bit disappointing. Had a big move down yesterday, and then Krispy Kreme again, 12%. Look at the daily chart on this, ugly. We're all the way back to October, end of September, October levels again for Krispy Kreme. So D-Nut, a big mover this afternoon. Let's talk some oil here. It was down 3%, as I mentioned when I came in this morning. We get back to about 2.5. It spent most of the morning around 2.5%. Some of the oil names, though, under pressure initially today end up being kind of a sideways, choppy trade today.
Crude itself has been a sideways, choppy trade. We may have been down 3%, but let's not forget that most of that was probably done by 5 a.m. Right? By the time we came in, we were already at 74 on the crude contract. The breakdown point was 75, and since then, the lowest we put in like 73.20 something. 73.33 is the low on the crude contract, and then the high, we did pop into that 75. Now this zone is the short that I was kind of indicating that I would be looking for, but to be fair, I also wasn't paying attention to crude because I got other things going on. So there was one opportunity here on pop and fade on crude, but here we are kind of coming back in. That's the move to be made. The 75 break with the 76 stop, and then an attempted move back into 75 that fails, and you got that at about, looks like 11:30 to 12 o'clock. You got that 12 to 12:30. Actually, you got that move, and now it's right back to 74.33. Crude's closed. Now it's just on Globex trading. It's still open on the Globex, but the main volume session is kind of closed at this point. So you're probably not going to get any more movement out of crude going into the end of the day. I think we're probably going to be somewhere around 2.5% to the downside by the time we settle up, but. We got a lot more going on. I know you were in.
I'm going to be a little more disciplined.
Exxon or something like that.
So, actually, I never got I never got any.
Oh, okay.
I never got what I wanted out of ExxonMobil. But I'll tell you, I'll go to it in a second. I'm not done with Cosm. I don't think that's ever going to be the case. But I did have a break on XOM when there was a big spike in oil futures at about 2 o'clock. Was it 2? No, sorry, at 2 o'clock. At noon, I should say. When there was a big spike, and I just looked for the channel break on XOM, just for a tight stop to see if it will continue, because oil futures made a bit of a run. It never continued, and I got out. So I don't really have much to add to that. I did take the one trade on it, and I don't think I'll be going back to that well. See what I did there? Excellent. No, whatever. That's a terrible. If you like bad puns, I'm your guy. I'm all about those. But so there was a good question in the chat. If anyone's watching for the first time here, the question was, what indicators are these triangles on the chart? And what I was saying is, these are actually my executions, right? So every up arrow, green arrow is just a buy. So I was buying here at these prices, and every red arrow down is a sell order, but selling out of a long position. The purple arrow, embarrassingly enough, that's going short, so that's losing. And then that's going short, and then that's losing, literally buying the high of the day. And you can kind of see that little wick above. So like, it's not an indicator that that's the high of the day. No, I covered my short literally at the high of the day just now on Cosm. That actually happened, and I'm back into it. But my approach here, because I don't usually like taking a parabolic move against the grain more than a few times, so I'm going to take a little bit less,
awfully close to
and then just have the consolidation. Thus, if it runs up, I'm going to hold a little past the high of the day, and if it gives a failed break, I'm going to add back in and then get a full position on beneath $9. Hopefully that'll trap some longs at 9. And we're going to get to Tesla here. We're done the rundown, I think. Tesla's at the low of the day. The value of being short in front of it is you don't have to necessarily go all in on the break of 150 because everyone's looking at that same trade. You can be in position, take a little bit less, or just hold what you have for the 150 break on Tesla, which I'd be surprised on an options Friday witching that we'd see 150 this many times and not break it. Again, I'm very, very surprised at the fact that it's already bounced this many times. I would have thought we'd been through this level already.
I mean, hey, whenever it does happen, if it does happen, we might be pleasantly surprised where it goes to 150.01 and then all of a sudden does a $5, $6 reversal. Please don't do that. But if it does happen, it shouldn't be that surprising. Options Fridays. The reason, and I'm going to go back to Tesla, and the reason I picked up this trade, right? I mentioned that actually, before I go on with this, all charts I show you guys that look like this, these are all 30-minute charts. I'll break it down for you, but it's usually the 30 or the 5. And in today's case, I'm going to show, or in this case, I'm going to show you the 5. This is kind of, ignore all these tails. Those are our system picking up all the dark pool prints. On the way back up from 150, obviously we bounced at 150.04, and we made a move back up into like 151, 151.5. And in my head, I'm just thinking, okay, I know that Tesla's had a rough go of it in the last little bit. I know today's options expiration. It also is rebalancing for a lot of, well, for the indexes themselves. And Tesla is weighted in the number 4 spot or in the number 5 spot in the NASDAQ. So if Tesla's value has fallen off and they need to reweight Tesla at the end of the day, then I would think that the Tesla imbalance is going to be a sell, which, one, the sell side coming from the indexes, and then two, the sell side coming from the index followers, so the portfolio funds. And I would think that's all going to add some extra sell side pressure to Tesla going into the end of the day. So if I'm going to pick up a short, and I don't want to play 150 on the break just because it's going to be a round number break, whatever, let me pick it up in resistance. So I picked it up going into 150, 150. I've got the 25s, obviously. Put it up against 153, $1.75 plus slippage, call it $2 in risk. And if I get that 150 break, pretty sure that this is going to go through 149 fairly quickly. So I'm sitting on a bid south of 149 to get some out on a flush through. And at that point, I'm just risk-free, right? So that's kind of my game plan on Tesla. I'm trying to play it towards the end of the day and the rebalance. If it wasn't a Friday that was doing a rebalance, I would not make this trade, not yet anyways. But I think today's case is a special situation because of the rebalance situation and Tesla's performance in the last little bit that has not been pleasant. So I think that's going to bring some weight at the end of the day. And I know you've got some Cosm there finally.
I'm sorry to only be trading this. I want to add something to what you just said about Tesla, but I don't have my mic drop button anymore, so I don't even know what to hit. This is the closest thing I have as far as the animations. We are working on some new animations around here, so you're not seeing the same things over and over again. But remember the plan I was sort of saying there, take a little bit less, so don't get all in at once on Cosm off the high, so that if it makes another run at the high of the day, fails the top, you can then actually short here. So when everyone's sort of getting stopped out like I was a couple of times, then you're actually getting that short near the high, and then it works back into 8. However, there's buyers at $8 on this stock, and there were a lot of them down here at $8. So I only got half out. I'm looking for it to make another press to the downside to 7. Maybe I'll hold on for a little bit. But if this takes out the high at this point, for those of you that keep saying things like $10 and $12, it's either one of two things happens if this reclaims the high. If it breaks this high, it is either making it to 10 and probably past 10, or it is going to be the mother of all failed breaks, and it will fail break into a down halt. There's no in between, I don't think. I'm not seeing any path around it because there's too much action off of this level where you have too many shorts getting in here and doing this game, looking for the pullback. Some probably looking for VWAP, which I think is crazy. Probably looking for that. And then you have some people who've got the long, they don't want to trail out. Some even wanting this long in here to get up $10 to $12. There's way too much action when there's so much range above and beyond this price that I can't see this being anything but an absolute gong show if it runs that high of the day. But I do want to get to some other names here. We show winners, we show losers. Adobe, the battle is going to be won by Arun here on Adobe. There's no question about it. So I scalped some long. I re-entered off 338. It broke 338. This is now, if the market breaks the low of the day, Arun might actually get 332, which the last time you had a trade like this, it was
Billy.
No, it was not. It was that's not the one. That's not the one I'm thinking. The one I'm thinking of is Cassava Sciences.
Oh.
It was Cassava Sciences that you were holding it all day long to the short side. That was the one. There was another couple that were similar to this, because I know there was one time that you had the long, and I ended up getting the high of the day on that. Was it Billy?
That was the one. It was like a $35 winner.
It was a $35 winner, and then I was literally short the top, and it pulled back like $5 or something like that. And like,
I was getting out of my long as he was getting into his shorts.
It was perfect.
We just saw the right location for the exits, and we were nearing the end of the day after. Yeah, it was Billy. It was nuts that day. It was that one day.
Okay.
I remember Billy. I was like, oh damn, okay.
It was Bill.
Bill. Yeah, my bad.
Yeah, thank you.
Bill.
Is it Zaharin? Apologies if I get somebody's name wrong in the chat. It's because I'm an idiot. Don't even worry about it. But Zaharin, you're right. It was Bill. If it was, I would remember if it was Billy. Billy doesn't move like that. It was Bill.
Okay.
Because we never trade that stock. I'm not going to pull it up. It's not doing anything right now, I wouldn't assume today. So we'll go back over to what is moving. I just want to come back to NVAX for a quick second here, because I was looking for this to break 1050. Been long since I reversed 1010, but it puts the wick in. It gets up to 1060 and is already pulling back. So what I want to do here is just trail this out. I'll let it pull maybe another 5 to 10 cents back, throw a trailing stop in, because the last thing I want to see happen on what is still a stock down 7%, was down 35% yesterday, is it pulls back into VWAP, and I've looked an old gift horse in the mouth there. Maybe it makes another break from this consolidation and goes to 11, but I also respect the fact that it's the end of the week. It could, it's 240 here. If it was going to go, maybe it should have happened already, and I'm out of most of it anyway, so I'm just going to trail it out, make sure we lock in 25 to 30 pennies on it. It's a $10 stock, and then if we get a breakout, I can hold out. I'm not even offering this thing, so if it makes the break, I'll just kind of look to see where it slows down and then just get out manually. So that's just Novavax there. Other than that, it's Tesla. It's Cosm. If there's anything else you guys are looking at, I know DNUT, Brennan brought that to us, and it's making some moves. I can't believe where this stock is, to be honest with you. Like, Brennan brought it up, and I'm like, are we really going to see $10 this month on DNUT? And if you look at these levels on the daily chart, if it goes, what's the reason you don't see $10 if it doesn't hold 11 here? It was one of the, I don't want to say better IPOs, but one of the worst. Yeah, it was one of the not as bad IPOs because it was holding up relatively well based on where this came to market. But if this breaks 11, how are you not seeing 10? Everyone's going to be on that trade. And thank you for saying I'm not an idiot. What I really mean is we're sitting here talking, trading all day long. I will have verbal diarrhea every now and then. I will get somebody's name wrong reading it in the chat. I'll repeat myself a million times. It's just because I'm not a professional broadcaster like Brennan is. And we'll make these mistakes from time to time. And we're reading the chat here, responding to you guys. I know there was a GME question. I didn't mean to ignore it, Michelle. I think you were saying you had a 20. You have a 20 long on GameStop? No, you can't. That's like a perfect entry. That's a perfect entry on GameStop. It didn't
get to 20 perfect. It was 2001 is the low of the day.
2001. So if you're short anything at that 20 level, that's about as good as it's going to get. I'm not a huge believer in it fundamentally, but I do understand the R&R of getting any kind of a squeeze play here. And if you got it off a level like that on options day, I can see this making a move, making one more squeeze before the end of the year. It's just had so much trouble up at 21 the last couple of days that I can't see. It's not happening. I don't think it's happening today. I don't think. I could be wrong about that, obviously. But it doesn't feel like it's got the juice to do that. And then you're wondering, can it make a squeeze when volumes are low in the last couple of weeks? The good news is sometimes you get better squeeze opportunities when volumes are lower because there's just less people around on the bid and the ask, and then you can get these bigger moves if it makes a break. So maybe it does something like that in the last couple of weeks, but I'm not seeing anything here today outside of the fact that you got yourself a great entry point. Brendo?
Some weed stocks moving around here, guys. Apparently there's a bipartisan letter circulating in both chambers in Washington, basically telling Biden to deschedule cannabis. That's from Politico reporting that. So nice move up here for Tilray.
Yeah, Tilray has come up before. And come on, Tilray, can we get to 350 on this? Because, you heard Brendan. Are we going to make a move? And we go to 323. So I'm not even going to bother with this. Neil, your thoughts on Tilray? Because at this price, I think this is something that you would trade more often.
You ready for this, Luke? You ready for this, Lucas? We're talking Tilray here. So look, man, until Tilray gets to 420, I don't know how excited I am about it. And I'm not even, until Tilray gets to 420, I don't know if I'm excited about it. Oh, man. Now I look real, it's fine, it's fine. I don't have the graphic anymore for it, so I can't hit the key. You guys, if you've been watching the show long enough, you know exactly what I'm getting at. And I'm not even making that price up. This was actually significant the last time I traded at 420, but it's not even, there we go. See? Was that worth it? It was worth it. Lucas's reaction time, the guy's the man. He's working hard. Fahad, I don't know what Fahad's doing today, but Lucas, one of our production crew, is working really hard. Fahad is doing something else next to him, so he's a one-man show right now, so I'll give him a pass for that. But Tilray has not even broken the bottom of this channel. Forget about 420. If it breaks 340, then it gets interesting. That was previous support, turned into resistance. So it's going to have to take that out for this to be exciting. If anything, I think most people are probably considering fading this in front of that level, and then that's what it's all about. Yes, it's worth monitoring because it's at least moving. Oh, that daily chart, eh? How's that for a daily chart?
It's a trash
you guys like that daily chart?
That is a trash daily chart.
Yeah, it's not a good-looking daily chart. However, this is why you won't see me chasing this move up here on Tilray. I just think there's overhead resistance at 340. So if you got it in here, that's a little bit better. Save yourself a couple of extra cents because that matters on a $3 stock. And then if it breaks 340, then that gets more interesting if it holds a bit above that price. I cannot believe Cosm is now back flat. I'm at the money again. See what I mean about people buying this up at $8? This stock is relentless. It is absolutely relentless. It is now making another run at the high of the day. And remember what I said here. By the way, my stop isn't at $10. My stop is off the high of the day. I'm just literally crossing with a limit order as high as that because I don't use market orders here. So if it gets stopped out, there you go. That's my execution. That's me getting out of Dodge. At least the last trade was successful. But I don't see any way this is either a failed break and it halts to the downside, or this is going straight through $10. And then I have no idea where it could possibly go. As far as I'm concerned, it has absolutely no business being at the price it's at right now. But that doesn't mean it has to go down here, right? Like you never want to get caught thinking, well, this has to happen, because the last time I thought that, I remember shorting DWAC 23 times in the same day and coming out alive. And it just, sometimes you're just wrong about it. And I'm wrong about this pulling back into $7. It got to 8, the buyers still emerged, and maybe it's going to head to 10, maybe it heads to 12. At this point, Bob's your uncle. I just think if it doesn't break from here, it's likely to go into a down halt. So I'd be very cautious if you're still holding along.
Yeah, it's, I mean, Tesla, I think, is going to be the one that's,
yeah, 150
is going to be, has to be looked at this point. Tesla 150.50 right now. It's trying to move up, actually. It's trying to bounce up. And every time it does, it gets slapped back down. So, but at the same time, on the flip side of that is every time it tries to make a move to 150, it gets bought back up. So they're definitely kind of congested here between 150 and looks like 152 and change. So at some point, they're going to have to make a move and make a decision. And you know how Tesla plays too, right? Tesla plays a little dirty. So if they... it would not even surprise me if they make a move like this where they go from 150.50, run it all the way to like 153, 154, and then immediately come right back down and break 150. Because, you know, that would get a lot of people that are trying to play in front of the short, like this guy, towards that 150, get a lot of people to get out, opening the door for the potential short. Also, some longs are going to pile in as well, I imagine, if we bounce through 153. So 150 is still the break, but I still got to take that shot. And I can see you saying, wow, on Cosm. Damn that Cosm. I should have just
going into a halt at 10:08.
I should have just left and picked this up in my own accounts at 3 even and just said, you know what, I'll come back from New York and deal with this.
As this goes into a halt, so it's about to halt, it's 15 seconds. From the time it hits the halt band, it's 15 seconds to either go down or go into a halt. It just halted. It'll probably be a 5-minute halt. It might be a 10. But this is why you didn't see me like throw anything or hit anything or curse on air about getting stopped out. Because if you're not willing to get stopped out and make a top wick, basically you're willing to have your day, month, year, career, or whatever ruined shorting a stock like this. It's just, you have to have an out short. You got to be willing to be embarrassed on an exit point to manage risk. But I did want to say this. At the time that Arun was long, because Arun was long at $3, and I was like, I'm going to wait for like 250, 260 or 270 because I want to give it to 235 because I felt like 15 to 20% risk made a lot of sense. So I wasn't in that trade. But if you look at what actually happened, ignoring all of these halts, from a pure technical standpoint, when it made its recovery and stabilized, it held about 250. And when all of these halts happened at the open, that 3 entry, it never broke 285. Like that's really, if you can get your head around ignoring all of the, it's hard to ignore that it's halting, but sort of ignoring all that crazy price action, all it did is show you decent consolidation, higher lows, consolidation break, higher low, consolidation break, higher low. And all that really does is when everyone's thinking to the short side, it's just running shorts, running shorts, running shorts, making shorts confident, then running them again, making shorts confident, then running them again, and then doing it to me 3 times. And so at this point, it just needs to do something crazy. And sometimes it is that halt that can give it a reason to do something crazy. So it's halted at 10.08. It's indicating a 10 open price. If that adjusts anywhere like higher or lower, I'll let you guys know. But it looks like Cosm is not done. If this goes immediately into a down halt, it would not surprise me. If it cannot hold above 10 on a reopen, that's the kind of thing that can usually spell the end of a move like this. So just be a little bit cautious. Sometimes that happens closer to the close, but if it happens now because of the halt, so be it. I'm just going to go back over to NVAX because as this continues to go, it's now back above that 50. If I see it clear 60s, I'll probably just continue to trail that one. I want to see if it can get back into 11. I wish I would hold on to the Cosm long as a Novavax long, but that's how it is sometimes. Like the one that you are holding on to, that it's easier to hold on to, it's probably for a reason. It's because it's not going as crazy. And the one that is going to go as crazy probably just takes a little bit more, what's the word I want to use, like gumption, or gumption's a bad word. Balls, I don't know, guts, intestinal fortitude, whatever you want to say it. It's the one that requires more of that you actually get these bigger winners on. And what I would say to myself looking back at this long was, well, if I just wasn't so aggressive scalping it out here, maybe I would have been more willing to hold on to a piece when it washed me out at 5, because it seems like a good trade going 4 to 5. It really does. But ultimately, when the stock had a fair value of $8, that's a crappy out because it had a fair value of $8 pro split. So taking a dollar winner is not remembering how far this had a chance to go.
Yeah, this actually reminds me now after seeing it, of course, you see it, and you think back one time where there was another opportunity in something. It was in the currency market, when this was a few years ago when the Swiss franc, what did they do?
It broke peg with the... Yeah, so like the Swiss franc had the long peg with the US dollar,
exactly.
and then it broke. And there was so many hedge funds
on the short side
that were, yes, positioned short because it never broke, and they got destroyed.
They got ripped up, and the
that.
currency went nuts. Like, you look at the chart overnight, you're just like, wow, that should not have been there, and it wasn't there. It was there for a hot minute because everybody had to dump out after that move, and then that currency has never been to that price since, not even close. So this is kind of one of those situations, like, why was it at 50 cents? It should never have been at 50 cents. And now it's getting back to where it needs to be and trading where it needs to be. And I think that's, like, you don't get too many of those opportunities, but if you do get that opportunity, at least now I know. Hold on, well, just play the long term. And I mean, we're an intraday firm, so I mean, you can do so much here, but I mean, in our own accounts, we can do a little bit more. So
well, that's another
that's
thing.
An option too.
Yeah, like there's a very big difference between day trading and swing trading, because as a day trader, like Arun and I and every trader on our floor behind us, or anyone at Day Trade the World, they have to cover all their positions at the end of the day. 4 o'clock hits, you don't have a position on. So if it hasn't made that move, it doesn't matter that you think you can go to $8 or $10 or whatever it might be, you have to be out of that trade. But I just saw someone in the chat was saying they couldn't trade Cosm until just recently. So I know people were saying they couldn't trade this on Robinhood. It's just back open right now. They couldn't trade this on Robinhood earlier on in the day.
Really?
But if that only now started to be able to trade, that could explain some of this explosion. And I kind of wish I had known that. This is now going absolutely haywire. Maybe it needs to halt up again. Someone said $12. Whoever said $12, after that just held this $10 break and is trying to halt again up around 11 bucks, you could be right about that 12. I just want to know where you got $12 from. Maybe it's on the higher time frame. Look, our charts at Day Trade the World don't split adjust. So if I pull this up on the daily, it's going to show some of these old prices not adjusted to the split. So it's a little bit more difficult unless you use outside sources. I could pull up my trade ideas and it probably split adjust, but I don't want to get away from where I'd be executing, which is here on P/8. So this is still going. It's still crazy. It's one of the only things moving. Unless Tesla breaks 150, there is a bit of a bounce happening in the market here that I don't think I want to ignore. Watch out NVIDIA 166. That could be interesting. That's showing signs of strength as well.
Yeah, signs of strength. Tesla making a move back up towards 151. Okay, as the futures market as a whole, look at this run on the futures market here. We were just at 60. Now we're at 71 and change. We're doing this dance left, right, and center. Back and forth every single time here. After that initial drop through 70 and change, we really haven't gotten anywhere, right? Every time we go down 10 points, we bounce 10 points. And here we are, we went as low as like 55, I guess, 55 quarter, yeah, as a low. And we kept bouncing into the 60s and 70s. And now we were just at 60. And now here we are back at 70 and change. Let's break that down to a 5-minute chart. That's a 5-minute chart. That's quite whippy. Up, down, up, down, up, down. But you can't deny the fact that in the 70s going into 80, 85, there's going to be some action. There's going to be some resistance here. So let's see if that holds up. I'm going to mark off 85 as the top end level. So let's see if this area holds up for a second time. But keep in mind, this is a different situation. Now you're entering into the final hour of the day. Now you got imbalances coming. You got rebalances coming. You got volatility coming as we get into 3 o'clock is the first. To me, this is what I've realized. 3 o'clock opens up for the first batch of closing programs, right? You tend to get a move. After 3 o'clock, 3:30, that's when you really start getting plays towards the rebalances as people start submitting orders and programs pick up on that. So I would just start being a little bit more careful about your positions and your levels as we get closer and closer to that 350 mark, because this is going to be one of those situations. And I'm very curious how big Cosm's imbalance is going to be, if there is one imbalance for today, because I imagine some people need to throw some orders out after what happened overnight. Brendan.
A little pharmaceutical name just popping up here, Vanda Pharmaceuticals, winning a court injunction against Teva here, it would look like. So let's just initially move to the upside on this note, but back downside now for VNDA. Again, there was a court decision, it looks like, just came out against Teva.
The price action on that is a bit wild because it traded all the way up to 735, and now it's back actually down on the day, this VNDA, trading down at like 680 here, trying to come back in. What I would say is if it kind of rejects the highs again, maybe the true reaction, and I haven't read it myself, and that's the kind of thing, like, until you digest the news, you make a better read. Technically, I just say the algos and sort of everyone watching this, if it doesn't reclaim the high of the day, then it trapped a bunch of longs, and then the overall read is negative on it. So I'd be looking pretty closely at the 7 to 710 area to see what happens. But Cosm is still going absolutely crazy. It is absolutely. I saw Beat Fanatic in there. Cosm, a Robinhood GME joint. I like that. Although someone said, is Cosm a meme stock? And I don't actually know what the definition of a meme stock is, to be honest with you. But if I was to give a definition to it, I think it would have to do more than 1 day's worth of action to qualify. It's kind of like a one-hit wonder. So I don't know, I was about to say like a one-hit wonder in my head, but then all I do is date myself. So I'm not gonna fall for that trap. If I say what I consider a one-hit wonder, none of you guys have heard of it, and you'll make fun of me. So Cosm, it probably has to hold this up for a few days before I put it into that category, which is not exactly, that would be pretty impressive. If it maintains this kind of activity, I'd be impressed if it's still doing this come next week. I was trying to get into what was going on over here in some of the other names. Like, have a look at NVIDIA. This was a dog all session long, but now looking like it wants to try to make a run and break out this 167, which is a pretty key price. This is a bit parabolic for me to chase along up here, but this market is making a bit of a bounce. So if we can consolidate above VWAP on NVIDIA, I mean, it is worth remembering, if you go way back on this, it's not at an insignificant price level. This has been support down here at 167 before, so for it to reclaim this would be a bit of a good thing. It just hasn't done so just yet. So I'm not into NVIDIA. I need to see it clear out and hold above 167. Otherwise, it's probably a better fade off of that level.
Yeah, nice little move in the market. That means it brings some decent movement in Tesla. Now Tesla is, we were up 60, 70 cents on Tesla. Now we're up 7, 10 cents on
Reload
Tesla.
it.
It's getting back to the top of the range. This has changed absolutely nothing for me. Yes, the market's come up a little bit, or not a little bit, it's come up a decent amount, but Tesla's right back to the resistance. If we are gonna truly break this and actually take a run to the upside, force me out. 153, I'll be waiting there. If you wanna go to 153, I'll get out. But for the time being, we're gonna stick with it. We're gonna sit through this one here. I have no reason to make a move. And there's Cosm at $12 and change. Taking a look, let's take a look at this one, because we like
the greatest
paying.
stock ever.
Yeah, this is $12 and change. When there's a decent amount. There's 100 and no, there's not. I can't even read it. It's maybe 12,000 shares. I can't tell, but there's a decent amount of volume there. Maybe it's 127,000 shares. No, it's 12,000 shares. Okay, so there's some volume there at 12 even, but every round number is going to bring volatility at this point and some action and activity. So Cosm in play for the day, the runner of the day. The only question I have is who screwed up and who sold at 50 cents to $1 this morning? That's what I want to know. Please send me some articles on this stuff because I really want to know what happened there.
Here.
Huh?
I just hope it's nobody that watches us or anything like that. I'll kick myself because I'm in at that time. It's just it wasn't on my. By the time it was on my radar, it was already it felt like it had already gone. And then as you're sort of like reading it, you're wrapping your head around it. And I'm also trying to prepare for the day. I don't think that I gave it enough respect to just jump into that thing anywhere that it was sitting and just give it a wide berth and let it try to go. Someone just mentioned that Coinbase is making a bit of a move, so a little bit stronger than what's going on in NVIDIA, at least for now, getting above VWAP. I gotta zoom in my daily charts because there's no point looking at those that far away. The issue with coin here is I'm more interested in this gets back up to the highs where I was shorting it this morning and got stopped, but I do like it more around 37, 37.5, 38. Probably should have given that a little bit more room, but it has to get to those prices. If I was going to short down here, I think I'd be giving it to 37, so I'd let it drift a little tighter to that 37 level. We're in the power hour, so scalp trades are probably going to be the course of action. You're not going to get an Adobe style trade that Arun has on right now, so I'm looking for something where I can be in and out in 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever it might be, because we're running out of time. And that's closer to 37 for me on the short side on Coinbase. Cosm might have just made a pretty significant. There's a wick top through 12. So it just ran 12. If it's going to, I don't know if it'll give 12s again or anywhere close to it, but we'll see if it does. It actually, the way that this has been trading, if you want a price and that price is a short, and you're like, I don't know if I'm going to get that price. Now the answer is you're going to get it. And so that's what you just saw there. I was sitting there saying to myself, when it pulled back into 1150, oh, you're going to be able to get 12s again? Yeah, you can get 12s again. And then there's another top there. And at this point, this is all I'm interested in doing. Should you be long? Absolutely, you should be. But if you are off this break, it's just difficult. Either you're taking it when I got out, or you're taking it when it does that consolidation break. Because you can manage risk there. I think you have a clean, you can risk $1, and then if it goes to 10 or 12, then that makes sense. But I said when it broke 9, it either halted down or it's on the way to 12. So I wait till 12 to trade it again. And if you're going to be counter trend, at least you can not be completely stubborn about it here. I wouldn't be surprised if we either see 10 or it runs me over. So that's the bet I'm putting on here on Cosm. We'll see if it ends up working out. I have not reloaded Tesla yet, but I am trying to get more shares of Tesla in front of 152. I want to play inside of that range as long as it holds. The market's bouncing, which if you like shorts on anything that's big cap, this is probably a chance to get in if you still like it.
Yeah, with Cosm's move, I'm just wondering, it's well, that can't be off the main exchanges because keep in mind at 7 a.m., 7:30 a.m., NASDAQ's not taking anything. So you have to run it through Edge A or ARCA, right, to get those fills. Those ATSs are open then. There's nothing else.
Edge X is open, ARCA is open.
Yeah, Edge and ARCA.
NASDAQ book is trading at 7.
Not the market maker though.
No. There's no the market makers aren't
closed,
trading.
but the NASDAQ ATS is
yeah.
So you can run it through
There's
NASDAQ.
A couple
you
of
can
other
run
gateways
EXB,
that you can trade to.
And then you can run it through
it's gonna run
ARCA.
again.
It's still going, but yeah, the book is the ARCA. The NASDAQ book is closed, but the NASDAQ exchange is open, or the NASDAQ. Yeah, the ECN is open. So a few options. So it doesn't really come through the book. So I imagine spreads were fairly thin this morning. Damn, 1250. I can't even. I know you guys having a great time, because when you get a runner like this, every dollar it breaks up, you just jump on board and see if it can't go to the next dollar, right? So I technically for me, this is We
There it goes
really
again.
underestimated this. We said fair value was 5 to 6, and 8 was the previous accepted close, and we're at 12 and change. We're 50% above where we closed if you do the math on this yesterday. So it obviously had a crazy day when you do the math overall. It says my chart here says 3,800%, but again, that depends entirely on how that split price gets calculated into all of this. But it is now above 13 and looking like it's
It's
on
just gone. Do you have your signal? Do you have your other chart up for the daily? Pull up the daily chart of this thing.
Yep.
Because it just took 13. So if you, I don't know if you can you zoom that out so we can see the price there?
Yeah, right there.
Yeah, so there you go. Like it actually, like there are levels up here. Like if you look at this like split adjusted, no, keep it on this chart. Like I just got out when it broke the high of the day again, but
that's 14
for those
right
of you that
there.
are still in it, like that's $14.
And
There's
that's
about
15.
That's
That's 16.
$16
That's
to the upside.
yeah.
So it is starting to, and when it starts to get into places where there's bag holders, or for lack of a better term, at those prices, that's generally where you look for a bit of a turn. So $12 is now come and gone. The next level I think will be if it gets to 14 or 16, and I'll keep taking pot shots at it at each of those prices. I can never find a structure long at these prices. I can never do it. Because I always start with where am I wrong? And if I don't know where to place a stop to get out as a day trader, then I don't want in the trade, because that means I'm probably not going to get out when I'm wrong, or I'm going to get out bad when I'm wrong. So I always start with that point. Like if I know I don't mind making the high of the day, then I'll get into that trade. Like I'm not willing to make the high of the day when it was 10. That felt like it was way too obvious. Let it get to like that 12, 12.50 area. And now that it's here, it still hasn't really cleared through this. So until it really clears through this and gets to 14, 16, I think it's still valid that I'd probably still try to take pot shots at this area. But there always has to be an out. You always have to have an out. Manuel in the chat, they're asking, how are people able to trade Cosm on Robinhood? I've been locked from selling or buying.
Well,
like this is one of those. We can't speak for anybody else's broker, but we've been hearing that people can't trade it on Robinhood. My guess is something went wrong with them adjusting based on the split. I don't know this to be true. And then they probably just closed trading for the day because they can't reflect prices properly, maybe. I don't know. That's a bit weird. What's the risk thing? Yeah, it looks like it wants to come down now. It's always...
now it's going to hold to the downside. 1120? No. Oh, no. Okay, no, they're adjusting it. So that's going to open up the band a little bit more.
Don't keep the camera on me. I'm just...
Yeah.
Wow, there it is.
Okay, damn.
That was probably... You have to be in it now. Like, I needed to still be in this trade. Because it just resisted a flush. So it did the same thing it did here. So what it might do is give one little relief pop, and if you can get 1240, 1250, risk works. But short 1170, I don't know if I like that. So I'm trying to put a patience hat on here and not put a trade where I have to risk 10%, because I hate risking 10% on a stock, because then it has to break $10 for it to be any good. So I'm going to try to stay away from that and see if it does a relief pop. There's going to be profit taking on this thing. That's absolutely, it's going to happen. It pretty much always does. It's a matter of how deep it is when it does go. And then I know we can't trade in the aftermarket, but it's likely to also do some volume aftermarket as well. This is probably not going to be done at 4 o'clock. It's just done for us at 4.
Keep in mind, Cosm at this point is a hot potato, right?
It's the hot, yeah.
It is a hot potato. I mean, like, it was great. It was a great run from 3, mathematically made sense all the way to 8. Once you got past 8 and 850, pretty much everything after that, you could see the speed of movement, right? I mean, up until this point, this is a 5-minute chart. We've been contained, drift. 850 comes around. This is the close. This is the split adjusted close to yesterday's price. And what do you end up getting? This is when things start getting hot here a little bit. And then boom, you see how big the bars are getting. It is a hot potato.
Did you reload
tread
Tesla?
Carefully. No, I kept it. I actually never got out.
Tesla. No, I didn't get out of Tesla either, but like Tesla went to 151.54. I'm off. Of course, I would offer 151.69. Yeah, of course, that's the price I put in there. Whatever. See, it goes right up there, misses by 15 cents, and is right back into the low of the day. That's the opportunity cost of staring at it, only focusing on Cosm over and over again, is that when Tesla makes the curl, I'm not really thinking about reloading Tesla, because all I can think about is Cosm's going to give me a $2 or $3 winning trade, and I don't want to miss it when it does, and I probably already have. Brendo.
I was just looking into this Ford move today. Huge move down, obviously, for Ford. There was this note that came out about mid-morning shortly after we came on at 9 or 9:15. They hiked the price of their cheapest version of the F-150 Lightning today, but just a steady grind all day long, guys, for Ford, now down 6.5%.
Yeah, this has gotten ugly for Ford. I know we were talking, was it GM the other day? It was last week that I think I was looking at GM. But what's happened breaking the 50 on Ford is I just sort of feel like we're going to see $11 at some point again, which I think is probably, I'm going to set an alert if this gets close to $11 because I really do feel like that's going to be an interesting buy zone. But there's been a few names that have been in the tank today, and we've been looking at a lot of them. But as far as just completely falling apart and going clean to the downside, Ford's one of them. Now, because it fell from 13, I would not be surprised to see a big, couple $1 million bid at $12 if we have enough time for it to get there. And then remember, like we keep saying, it's options expiration, it's witching. So those even dollar prices will have more significance on them. So I'd expect 12 to have a bid. I'd also think Ford is probably going to have an imbalance today, it being an index rebalance. So that 12 area is probably tradable if it gets down to 12. But I think this could be headed to 11 if it breaks 12 even. That's a level I'll be a buyer on that stock. I'm just going to continue to trail Novavax here. Let's go back because Novavax, Novavax ain't doing a Cosm because obviously. But it just broke, tried to get 75. There, it's close enough to 11. I'm just going to move my trail. You can actually have a trailing stop, and I could be doing this in Day Trade the World where I just set it such that if it goes back X% or retraces every 20 or 50 cents, whatever I want to set it to, it would automatically just be a trail. I like moving my trail based on key price areas. It's just the way I like to do it. So if it breaks this consolidation down, I'll get out of that 1010 and probably keep looking at Cosm over and over again. Still waiting for NVIDIA to make a run at 120, 167. Can't seem to go. This just feels like resistance I should be playing instead of waiting for it to break out. So I might jump into that train, just shorting in front of that level. And then if it breaks, it breaks. But there's only about 50 minutes left in the day. It's either going to be these scalp trades, which if you did it once, you already took 50 cents to $1 on that trade. Might be worth it a second time.
Yeah, I'm just going through my list. I'm not going to add any new positions. I've got the two positions I want to carry. Adobe's from this morning. Tesla, trying to get that 150 break before the end of the day. We'll see if we get that or not. I mean, the closer we get to the imbalances, the better chance we have of those 150s getting looked at. But I mean, crazier things have happened on Tesla, so we'll see how this one plays out. But I'm looking at some other names that have gone off. Let's take a look at Boeing. Boeing was an alert that went off. I never bothered taking. Oh yeah, when they popped through 185, that would have been a great one too. Essentially, I had set the alert off to see if we got above 185. I kind of wanted to fade it right into this zone right there. Never did it though. I mean, it really doesn't matter. But keep an eye on Boeing. The daily puts it in a location where we are starting to build up some resistance above, and it's been trending up.
Yeah, now it's gone.
So at some point, it may come on down here towards mid 170s and change. So keep an eye on Boeing potentially. Obviously, we talk about Tesla, Amazon at 87, Meta south of 120. Adobe, obviously, those are the alerts I'm just going over here, and I kind of got them all. Let me remove them all at this point.
See, this is why I wasn't taking my eyes off the stock.
Oh, Cosm?
Yeah, if the reason why I wasn't taking my eyes off the stock and focusing on this thing over and over again is because when it really starts to go, it's anybody can get short on the way up. That's kind of literally the easiest thing to do. But when it shows signs of selling off, that's when it's a little bit more difficult to structure and get into a trade. So you have to be focused. You got to be on the level 2. You've got to be watching this. You can't flip away from it. And someone made a good point that they said TD Ameritrade was having issues. People on TD were having issues trading this stock. So there might be a lot of accounts out there that have not been able to sell this. They're staring a 40% gain or whatever they have. Because if you couldn't trade it at all today, you're not long from earlier, right? That means your long is the equivalent of $8 or $9 or whatever it was trading last week or yesterday. But either way, that's in the money now, and maybe you haven't had a chance to be able to sell this. But those people probably still can't sell it. So there's always the chance that the real flush could be next week when some people have the ability to sell their long-term or swing shares. And this is just pure squeeze play and momentum. So I'm just going to treat it as such. And at this point, because I've taken a 12 short, that's not one I'm giving to $13. I think that risk to reward is ridiculous. So I'm kind of looking at that 1250 area to try to get out. If it breaks 11, 10 is an obvious level. If it halts, I would try to hold something through a downward halt. I think that makes a heck of a lot of sense, but that doesn't mean it's going to happen. This stock has not halted this afternoon, by the way, which is a little bit surprising. Every time it's gotten to the, and this is one of the things that I've seen a lot more of when you have one of these like meme stocks or whatever you want to call it, is it'll get to the halt band, and then there'll be a lot of buying because people are buying dips at that halt band down. So when it looks like it might go into a downward halt, it's just being picked up at that level. And then people say, well, if it's going to break below that, I'm not going to get trapped in the halt. But if it picks up a bid, I'll just get that bounce and I've entered the trade. I think that's exactly what happened here from 9 to 8. It seems like that's what happened here from 13 and back into 11. But this is a more significant round of selling than we've seen in a while. Hence why I'm in the consolidation short as opposed to the short off the high of the day.
Yep. Market taking a nice little look into the 80s. Remember, this is where we kind of stalled out earlier when Tesla's bouncing back to 151. We were initially in this zone when we bumped up around 9:45, 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock rolls around, then we fall through that zone. Couldn't really gravitate further away from it. So this market is either, based on how it's trading, we're either going to peg at 3,900 or going to peg at 3,850. It's going to be very hard to believe that we're not going to make a move somewhere in between, or we're going to make a move to one of those levels. Right now, with the strength you're getting going back into that area, I would suspect if we can maintain this kind of strength here, we should be able to make a move to 3,900, but we'll see if we can maintain the strength. I think that's going to be the critical thing here, is that are we actually going to maintain this strength that we've been seeing the last little bit? I think this started around 245, and we've been running strong. Tesla bumping up with it as well, but we just need to clear through this area. I think getting through 90 should open up the area towards 3,900, but for the time being, it is right through this here. We kind of stalled out 80s, 85, somewhere in there in the morning. So running strong, late session push. This market is currently down 1%, but you know it's not going to stick with that. We might be down 2%, or we might be down positive by the end of it all. But we'll see how this one goes. But for now, strength into a resistance level is what the futures market's doing. Brendan.
Just seeing some of the social media stocks popping up here, Meta and Snap in particular. I mean, the whole market is as well. But Montana, guys, becoming the latest state to ban TikTok from state-issued devices. That just coming across there for these.
Like yesterday when there was a piece of news along those lines, it was a very delayed reaction on Meta. I remember looking at it and like, oh, it's not going, so I'm not going to take the long. I wanted to see it start to go. And then by the time I looked back at it, it was too far gone. But yeah, NVIDIA is starting to go here. It's looking a little bit better. It's just cracked 67. What it might do is maybe pull back into previous support, see if it can't continue that move into the upside. Running out of time because it's 317, so imbalances come at 350. So one of the things, if you're trading a big index type of name, to me, I don't want to be in position in front of 350 when the imbalances drop out, because then whatever your levels are, that's just not going to matter at 350 if a stock decides to come out with a few million shares to buy or sell, which I think a chip name could certainly do. So I'd want to take a scalp trade, which would mean off of somewhere around VWAP, 166. Half or so, something like that. I wanted to see it show enough strength to get to 167 there before I jumped in. I have seen that, and the futures are starting to make a bit of a move. I am still in Cosm. It's kind of going sideways here. Some people are saying you can trade it on Robinhood. So I think some people obviously are having some fun with it. I never got that reload on Tesla. At this point, if I had to bet, I'd say Tesla's not breaking 150 today. You know, if it gets back down to 150 even, I'll probably just cover the trade because I don't like it's at 318. If we were going to clear 150, like if you were looking at was like the highest volume of options action, like the top 10, and I think I saw somebody tweet that out. It was like Tesla December 150 puts, and then for whatever reason it was like Starbucks. There was some. It was like 2023 March calls on Starbucks for the next 3, and then it was Tesla and it was Apple. And so there's so much around this 150 area activity on this 150 area in Tesla that maybe you just can't shoot through that with the action that gets in there when it starts buying off that 150. There's too many shares and changing hands for us to break that level. If it does, fantastic, we're short, but I'm kind of feeling like it's not going to happen at this point, Arun.
I'm going to hold on. You might be wrong. Who knows? This market just rejected that 85 area.
I'm wrong plenty.
And, well, not in a big way, but we did hesitate in that 85, 86 area, which I was expecting some resistance up there. So, and Tesla barely budged on that. I mean, the futures market took off in a big way, and Tesla went up to what, 151? That's not much movement for how big the market move was overall. So maybe Tesla is still showing some weakness, and I'm going to hold on to that idea. We'll see. I really want to see the imbalances on Tesla at 350. So if I can hold on to this without getting stopped out for the next half hour, and imbalances come out positive on Tesla, I'm done. But I really want to see the imbalances on this. I do think it's going to be sell side. I'm going to make a wager that it is a sell-side imbalance on Tesla, but we shall see. Put your money where your mouth is, and there you go. I'm holding on to Tesla on the short side. I know you've still got your Tesla, yeah?
Oh, I'm still in Tesla. The
Yeah.
problem was I was trying to get more shares in front of 152, and I never got the fill into it. I keep getting asked to look at Coinbase, which I did go over, and I said, you know, the scalp trade for me was off 37. I mean, I suppose you could make a strong argument that that was close enough that I could have been in this one already, but I don't know that I was looking at it closely enough that I'd jump into the short at 80s. You know, I kind of wanted it to get up and test 37 there. There's still some time for it to do so, but I want to keep it a little tighter to the vest. I did get into NVIDIA just now. So remember I like that dip back into VWAP on NVIDIA? I can zoom in so you can see what's happening now. So I like that dip back into VWAP on NVIDIA into 166.50. I got 166.66. That is just a pure coincidence. Took some out in front of 167 even, so we'll ring the register there, and then look to see if it can continue the breakout. Now I do, like I said, 350 imbalances come out. I'm out of this trade one way or another when we get close to 350. And there goes Cosm again. Now, not the high of the day. At this point, when shorting the consolidation, I'm not waiting for it to go to the high of the day. I'm just getting out of dodge inside of that consolidation range. So not giving it that much room because I'm always trying to manage risk. Reasonably speaking, it feels like it's just going to keep on halting to the upside and above 13. Like you guys are pointing out in the daily, it's 14, it's 16 bucks. Those are the next key levels. Thank you, Archie Manning. Vinco Ventures might make a big run because of the TikTok bans. Well, Archie Manning, if you're the real Archie Manning, you did a fantastic job with raising a couple of good quarterbacks. Not that I'm a gigantic fan of Peyton Manning, because I'm a Bills fan, so I kind of hated Peyton Manning when he was beating us up. But Vinco Ventures has been a weird one in that it needs to try to make a run. I know it needs to try to make a run at $1, and it just has not been able to do so recently. If you were watching yesterday's show, I was all over shorting Vinco Ventures multiple times, getting the top a few times as well. So unless this thing clears 70 cents, forget it, because that was, like 70 was an easy, like that was an easy short. That was not Cosm yesterday. Like that was easy money. Shorting first 64 is all the way back into 60, and then shorting this thing when it tried to make a run at 70. Like those were easy trades. So until it clears 70 cents, I think BBIG is not really doing anything, guys. The story over there, if you're looking for a meme stock or something going, it's Cosm. I'm not ignoring Novavax. It's weird. Like I'll spend more time talking about the stock that I've been losing on, which is Cosm, than Novavax, which continues to go. But all I'm doing is every time it goes higher, trailing stop to 1080 now, I'll probably trail it into here. It's now at $11, so this is pretty much it for me. If it breaks 11, I'll probably just get out on any failed break of 11 or continue to trail it. But I don't think it breaks. I didn't think it was going to break $11, to be honest with you. I thought it would get here and do a hard turn. That's why I've been trailing it this entire way.
Nicole Harris coming in. I assume that means Cosm, not Coms. It's on.
There is Coms is an actual stock.
Oh, is Coms also a stock? Oh,
but
damn.
I'm guessing.
I should not make that assumption.
No, Nicole, I'm assuming you mean Cosm, but there is another stock.
Okay, no,
Coms.
Coms is barely moved today. So yeah, we'll assume that Cosm. Yeah, a lot of people. If you picked up the right prices, damn, Cosm, $14 incoming after a huge run up. Everyone who hasn't been participating is now participating on the buy side here. Like I said, it's a hot potato, so just be careful as we come up into resistance. Does it even matter at this point? I don't think it does. It's doing its own thing. I don't want to say this percent because I don't know what it's based on, but it says, my system here says 4,000%. So, you know, I think what they're doing here is trying to take the closing price of the previous day, assigning the new price after the split, and saying it's $14, so maybe it is 4,000%. I don't know. We'll just leave it at that. Let them figure out the calculation.
I'll leave it at this. I put this one in the chat. I was long $4 on Cosm, and I am down on the stock. Think about that one for a second. That's the quote of the day. But yeah, the stock it's going to halt at some point again to the upside. Well, I was just adjusting my stop, but I just wanted to give you guys what just happened over there. Like Nvidia's still kind of going. That looks okay. It needed to break channel up 167, maybe get up to 168, but it is running out of time to make that move. Obviously, there was one thing you'll see came out of my blotter. I was long AUVI from this morning off the low at 108. It got up to 120, not bad, but it just came back and I had a break-even stop for that. So I was looking for a break of VWAP for it to get back to the high of the day. It never did, so that's just me getting out of it. Sometimes when these small caps aren't moving, I know I'm still in position in them, but if it's not moving, we try not to talk too much about it. So that was just me getting out of AUVI there. Cosm is about to halt at 1467. 69.
69, yeah.
Yeah, maybe not.
They might break it.
Oh, there he goes. Yeah, it just went into the halt. So it's halted up. Again, Cosm is halted up. This is it. Like 14 to 16 bucks was kind of that level. We're running out of time here in the day. Man, of all the stocks to not be long today, well, I shouldn't say that because I was, but of all the stocks not to have held the long today, you don't see this happen very often. I hope somebody still got this bad boy. Up 78% on a reverse split. This is squeeze central at this point, Brendo.
Just crazy. I was looking into this a little bit more, guys. 1.34 million shares right now on the float for COSM. There's also this as well, 8.6% short. Not that it matters at this point, but there is a short percent as well.
I mean, at this, does it matter? Like that's more along the lines of, okay, you allow it to go a little bit parabolic because you understand that it's got a short interest in it. But once it's gone this far, you know, it's turning into a bit of a different beast here. But I just noticed something. We got a super chat and someone was, basically it was like, I had a bad day and I'd like you to drop some bars at the end of the day. But we actually have to get to 1.5K likes, which is not a lot. I know we got we have a few people watching the show here. I'm just going to double check. I see 4,700 people watching. 1 in 7 of you have hit the like button. I don't know. I think it's fun to see somebody get run over as the stock moves to the upside. I think that's entertaining, but at least there's a plan of action. That's all I'm really trying to get at. Like, you have to have a plan of action for your trading. I try to trade around key price levels and then show you guys what's really happening, right? Like, I've given back some of my day here trading Cosm to the short side. Like, it's real, but that's what we're here to do. Like, I'm not here to pretend like, oh yeah, I'm long this the entire way. Boom, we're making all kinds of, nah, that's clearly not what I'm doing here. I'm just kind of giving you my perspective on it, right or wrong, every single day. It's free. We're not charging you guys for anything. Just spread the love. We don't ask for super chats, although this is the best super chat of the day. Thank you, Farm Trader. $14.69. That is exactly the price it's halted at it. I got it. Let's go. Bang. Congratulations to you, Farm Trader. I hope you're actually trading on the farm and enjoying a good view and chilling out, maxing, relaxing, having a cold one, because if you're long this sucker, you're just a winner today. And I promise you this, somebody is long a boatload in the pennies on this stock. Yep. That is, like, it is 100% true. Somebody's got 250,000 shares of this thing beneath 40 cents. Because all it required for them to have that position, and it could have been anybody, Luca, myself, anybody could have done this morning if you had the ability to trade pre-market, if you understood what had happened with the reverse split, and then you simply saw the price action. Now, I wasn't watching level 2, so I can't tell you what liquidity looked like, but I can tell you hundreds of thousands of shares went off in the pennies before this thing broke out. And at that point, and I was telling Justin this, our growth manager, when he was asking, what is this Cosm, what's going on, that was trading essentially 4 to 10 cents on the dollar of fair value. 4 to 10 cents on the dollar, and he could have had hundreds of thousands of shares. That is actually real. That's not any made-up nonsense like some person giving you, but you had to take the shot risking it. But really, at that point, like, what are you doing, long 30 cents with a stop at 20 cents?
I mean, to be fair, if you're getting that price,
And fair
Zero.
value. And
Zero.
fair
Yeah.
value. You know, actually, Arun's right about this. $8.25 was fair value 1-to-1 at the close. $6 based on where it was trading in the aftermarket. But if you're getting it at 30 cents, forget about structuring it risk to 20. You probably are willing to hold it to zero.
Yeah.
Someone was saying, I'm just gonna buy 200,000 shares and I'll risk it to zero because fair value is $8. Somebody made that decision, and even if they got out at 3, that's not a bad trade. They made 10x. But it's now up 80% on the day, when at one point it was trading down 80%. It was down 80% to up 80%. If you've seen that happen before, I can tell you I haven't. I'm sure it's happened somewhere. I've just never seen it. So I'm rambling about this stock because I've been trading 20 years, and I've never really seen anything particularly like this. I've seen moves like this, not in a stock that was trading at that big of a discount that early. The FOMO is real when it comes to you can trade as many years as you want. Everybody gets FOMO. I get FOMO too, and I really have a big taste of it because there were great longs to be had here, and I couldn't hold on to mine.
Yeah, it's not often I get involved in these $3 names, but when Neil sits down and he says, I got to show you something, I've never seen this before, ever. Cosm opened, by the way, at $14 and change. Now it's at $14.40. When he says that I've never seen this ever, and you look at the chart and you're like, oh, mathematically, damn. Yeah, okay, we got to get long. At that point, I think that's just enough to get involved and start making some moves here on Cosm. But I do have an update for you guys on Adobe. We've gotten out of Adobe. I'm flat. Hate to say it, we didn't get our 332s. I mean, we're just gonna have to walk away with the $10 winner, unfortunately. We didn't get our $18 winner that we were looking forward to, but we'll take the 10. At this point, we're gonna have to take the winner as it is. Yeah, $10 is not too bad. Let me just do one thing quickly. All right, we walked away.
I can't help myself.
What's that?
I can't help myself.
It's still going?
Yeah, it's still going.
Yeah, he's still trading Cosm. I walked away from Adobe. 1, the market's taking off. 2,
you got out of Adobe?
Yeah, because I don't think I'm gonna. To be fair, I got to be smart about this, right? 1, market's taking off. 2, Adobe doesn't want to get away from 340. 3, I'm running out of time because the imbalances are coming out in about 20 minutes. It's also a rebalance, means imbalances are going to be bigger. And 4th thing, Adobe's ridiculously thin. So if I'm short and there's an imbalance that comes out on the buy side, it's going to be closing that spread real quick. So I had to walk away from it. I'm taking my wins here. So around $10, I think it's like $9.90-something on average between the 2 exits. We got one initially around 40.26, and then we just got one around 40-something. So here we are walking away from it as it rips up.
It just ran 50.
We still kept Tesla, by the way, and let's do a quick look to Cosm on fire now. Well, when I called it out last, it was 14.40. Now it's trading at 15.20 to the upside, and this is
just not stopping. Where's that daily chart again?
Let's take a look. Well, we're going to break that daily top on Cosm, which
it is going to break the top. That's the channel there?
No, that's from the other one. Here, this is the 16 is next up. So if we get through 16, we have space all the way to 20.
33 cents.
Yeah, you could have bought 300,000 shares for 100 grand, and then here you are sitting on a nice winner at all the way down there at 50 cents. This chart doesn't show.
Manuel, thanks for the super chat. Says he was long 33 cents, 200 shares, up 25 hundo. Congratulations.
Damn.
After split 160 on RB. Oh, I see what. Okay, I see what you're saying. There. So I guess Robinhood did have issues with showing the split prices on the stock, but yeah, it did that whole halt reopen deal. So if you've been watching the show long enough, one of my favorite trades, which obviously doesn't work when I'm trading this stock, is to see it halt to the upside after a parabolic move. If it doesn't take out the high, short the first level to the high of the day, and then see what happens. Now it wants to make another turn at 15 even. We got to go to Brendan here. He's got something on, I think it's the overall market.
All right, a lot of things factoring in here this afternoon as far as the rebalance is concerned. We also have a Fed member speaking on Bloomberg right now. Fed's messenger saying they expect the Fed to hike by more than their median forecast, and rates will stay higher for longer. So reiterating the same thing that Powell said back on Wednesday. But just another thing to consider as we head into the close, guys.
Not up here.
Yeah. Well,
Like I was just saying to Arun, don't get me wrong, the right move was to have been long the entire way. But when that 16 level on the daily chart that Arun pointed out, I think you're a little crazed to fugaze to be long up there. But I've been saying that the entire way and been shorting it the entire way, and half my day's gone doing that. So I'm probably going to stay away from this. I still have a trail. NVIDIA doesn't seem like it wants to get past that 167, so I might have to just respect that, and maybe it's just not going to go. And then the same thing is sort of happening to me on NVAX up here. It just broke 11. Wick topped 11, so this is kind of, one of the questions I always ask myself when you get to a level like this is, if I was flat, what would I be doing with NVAX? Right here. And the answer is, if I didn't have a position on NVAX, get out first, Neil, and then talk. If I didn't have a position on NVAX, I would be thinking wick top at 11, short 95, stop high a day. That's what I would be doing if I was flat on the stock. If I didn't have a position on the stock, I'd be thinking short here. So if I'm long the stock, then I'm thinking get out in that same vein. So forget about the trailing stop. I'm just going to manually punch out, cancel my trailing stop because I don't want to go short when I don't mean it. So I'll get out of NVAX. I'm not going to hit a key. I don't deserve to hit a key. If anything, I'll slap the fail on myself. Because if I had had this kind of a conviction in the long in Cosm, then you wouldn't see what's been going on with this stock. So it's still up at 15. I know everyone wants to watch it. I'm unlikely to make another trade in a big cap name. I don't think I want to reload Tesla if it goes up there again. Like, you're getting a series of lower highs. Like each time, like now when Tesla goes up, it's not really clearing 151 by much, and it's not getting down to 150 either. This is a situation to just hold on to the short that I do have, which I know Arun's doing the same thing. There's nothing much else to do. I'm just going to sit in this short, and if it breaks 150, it breaks 150, and that's going to be it. NVIDIA, I'm not letting clear through VWAP, so this is not a time of day that I particularly favor reloading it. I'd rather see it consolidate higher and break up, and sometimes you want to buy higher instead of buying lower. That feels like the right call to me on NVIDIA. So I'm going to stay away from reloading it. I just want to see it clear through 67.5 and get some 68s here, but no need to put any more risk on, especially on one of these types of days, guys. There was one other stock that I wanted to get to, but now I forget it because Cosm, in the corner of my eye, it's just saying short me.
But here's the issue with that, though, right? With what Brendan said about the float, after a certain point, it's no longer about the math, and it's about the potential squeeze aspect of it.
That's all it is.
And we're getting to that level. We may have passed that level. Once we got above the 850 level, that may be the direction we're heading in with this thing.
Well, I felt it turn into that when it, yeah, well, I know you're saying the 850 level. I felt like that really happened at this 12. Because that was the only time I was in a short and I was like, oh yeah, this is a better one. Because it wicked the top, it gave like 10 minutes straight of weakness, and it just went sideways. And a lot of times, like that's when I'm thinking the rug pull, and then you get something like a 9 even. So that was the moment that I was like, yeah, it just feels a little bit different. And then of course, that's when it halted to the upside. So at this point, it just might be a next week thing for me. It is true that if some people aren't able to sell it, then maybe they haven't even had a chance to profit take. And that will be something that happens next week, and that can just add more fuel to the fire. But it's churning through volume. Like it's done 100 million shares, and that's not a mirage. If you look at the volume bars up here on Cosm, like this is doing just as much volume trading up at $14, $15 than when it was trading down here at $4. It's not doing less volume as it goes higher. Like this has real velocity behind it at this particular point. Hence, I'm impressed with anybody that's sort of still in this one. I'm always pretty skeptical as to how far it's going to go and always want that kind of reversal trade. And it's a bit of a risk to reward play that you just trade your style, but it's clearly been wrong at every single point today. You just have to pick the level you're working off of and don't hold it past it. That's the only thing I can tell you that you'll manage to hold on to, because the alternative is you just have, instead of being short, generally speaking, at 3 price areas, I would just be short the entire way up, and then I'd be down on the day, and I'd be like kicking myself. And you have one of those days where you hate yourself, and I've been there before. Everyone's done it to themselves probably at least once. I think I did it once on Veru. Oddly enough, I did that one time on Veru where I just was like, this is going down, and I was short. I had no stops. I was just like, I'm in at every single possible level, getting out at random prices. Next thing you know, I'm almost shut down on the day. And then the next day, the stock absolutely tanked. But you don't want to have that happen to you guys. Yeah, the futures are.
16 and change on Cosm.
You think we're going to get to 3,900 on the futures here?
Very strong possibility, especially once we cross that 85.
Wow,
there's a decent upside potential here. Cosm 16 and a half. At this point, until the imbalances come out, I just got to watch it for entertainment. I mean, we're not going to. He might still trade it because he just can't help himself, but I definitely won't be trading it.
Well, if you pull up the daily, remember I was saying 14 to 16, right?
We're above 16 now, though.
But it made a halt play
It's about to halt again.
And it's about to halt above that range.
Yeah.
So if it halts here,
Oh, they broke it.
I was about to say, if it halts here, then I would have looked for a trade on the reopen.
They
but it
broke
doesn't.
it.
It fake halted.
Yep.
And if it flushes here without setting me up for anything, you have to be willing to miss the trade to make the trade.
Yep.
I say that all the time, but it's actually true. Because if you're not willing to have it be a setup or a trade that makes sense to you, then just don't do it. You're always going to be better off doing that. Am I halt drunk? I love halt trades. Someone just asked in the chat, Baron Keela 2020 hookup. I don't know what that is, but it sounds really cool. Are you halt drunk? I love halt trades. There was a point when the market was booming. Obviously, we're in a bear market now, but we had the big bull run, and you were getting all these small caps halting. There were so many fantastic setups around trade halts that was a really big strategy in the last 2 years. It hasn't been so much this year, but I do love seeing these halt moves because they give the structure of a trade that was working 7 to 8 times out of 10 for the last couple of years. Maybe that's been changing because we've been in a bear market and there's been less of these, but I still like those setups. That's why I kind of look for these halt plays, and I want it to halt so I can make a trade off the reopen.
Yeah, decent move in the market, decent move in Cosm, almost at 17 bucks. See, they're 17.33. They are jumping quite quickly now. And the way it's moving up to, it's interesting that they broke the halt. That opens up the band a little bit, so they can actually go a little bit higher without halting. So now we're in the 1730s and whatnot, and we still haven't gotten a chance to halt here. Market making a move to the upside, 93 and change. Looking back at Adobe, perfect. We got out of this just in time. And then Tesla, perfect. You're not rallying with the market. I like that because if the market's going up and Tesla's going sideways, that means I get a chance to see the Tesla imbalance at 350. So should be an interesting one. I mean, based on what I'm hearing right now, it should be somewhat of a buy imbalance. Well, not somewhat. It should be a decent buy imbalance. So I'm hearing
Overall imbalance.
Yeah, overall imbalance of a buy imbalance. So I mean,
the early look is 800 million from Financial Juice. We're not affiliated with them, but they just give it out publicly what their estimate for the imbalances will be. So they're looking for a significant buy at this point. But it's an estimate. It doesn't mean that it's going to come out of buy.
But here's the issue: it's on witching day, which means there's a ton of options involved.
Better have a B on it.
Yeah, there's a ton of options involved. That's going to make that number a huge number, but in reality it means very little. It means very little because of the options getting involved.
Financial Juice. Apparently, I didn't say that one clear enough. If you can't tell, when something's hype, I kind of talk a little faster. Financial Juice. Whatever you might have heard me say was not that. It was Financial Juice. Like I said, we're not affiliated with them, but they do let you know what the imbalance is publicly. Otherwise, the data is like the imbalance data does come in any data feed for the market. On our system in P-Pro 8, we get it automatically, so we can show it what the imbalances are at about 350. But otherwise, if you have a broker and you're not seeing it, you should ask your broker if you have access to it. This is now going to 1850, no halts in sight. You'll probably see 20 bucks here, whatever. This is unbelievable. I think that's like Luca sighing. Was it not Luca? I heard somebody sighing in the back because I feel like everyone's just sitting here. You're either holding along and just doing this thing, or you're just dumbfounded like myself, looking for an opportunity to short it, which I probably shouldn't do.
Tesla. Here, I'm talking about Tesla and Cosm. Somebody called for 23.50, but I mean, everyone's making calls that are just stupid high, and they're all probably going to be right. 23.50, 20 bucks.
34.50.
34.50. I mean, you'll be right too. Come tomorrow morning. Come Monday morning, you'll be right.
You didn't get that reference?
No.
You're Canadian, bro.
34.
Russell Peters, 34.50. Come on.
No, man.
There's.
Do the whole skit now. Now
literally, if you know the Russell Peters skit, 34.50 is all you need to hear.
Don't know enough.
That's all you need to hear.
No, clearly I have.
That's all you need, man.
I clearly don't.
Like
watch
if I
enough
just
Russell
say I'm
Peters.
the master of my domain, that's all you need to hear. Chad? Am I wrong? I'm the master of my own domain. End of story. I shouldn't have to tell you who said it. I shouldn't have to tell you what show it was on. That's it. You should get it. Just that easy. Everyone in the chat knows it.
I don't know
And
it, so
34,
tell me.
if you're Canadian, 34.50. That's all you got to hear.
I've never
man.
watched Seinfeld. How would I know that? Not everyone watched Seinfeld. Come on, man. Don't assume that just 'cause, is it from Seinfeld?
Don't come on, man, me if you've never seen Seinfeld. Don't come on, man, me.
I haven't watched Seinfeld, so clearly, I mean, I'm not going to get the
seen-
reference. Can't do it. See, that's the assumption you're making, and that's what you're getting wrong.
I can't even look at
See,
you
that's
right
the
now.
assumption. That's the
I
kind of
can't even
assumption.
look-
That's the kind of assumption that we made on Cosm, and we got wrong.
I can't even look at you right now. You've never seen Seinfeld?
No, not one episode. Can't do it.
What am I supposed? You guys, what am I supposed to say to that? Who's never seen Seinfeld?
I haven't.
Fahad
Of course he's
just,
gotta get himself
Fahad
involved.
just said Seinfeld sucks. Fahad, watch your mouth. This is headed to $20, by the way. Cosm is an absolute. This is ridiculous what is happening on this stock. I would 100. See, this is the thing. There is a path to me being shut down on this if I didn't stop shorting it. It is so tempting to short $20 because that was probably it. That was probably the next best chances, 345. Imbalances are coming in 5 minutes. That's where my attention is. But that was probably the best bet to have taken another short trade. Would have been up here at 19. And then this is going to be it. But this is, the stock hasn't made sense up to this point anyway. So why would it start making sense now? Part of me is just like, really, Fahad telling me that Seinfeld, it's a bizarro day. Arun's telling me he's never seen Seinfeld. Fahad's over there
That's
telling
just
me
Fahad wanting to get involved in this.
Sucks.
He's got to get involved. That's all
like
it
if
is.
Sean was here, he'd be slapping the crap out of somebody for talking crap about Seinfeld. But this stock is going to go to $20, 130% to the upside on Cosm. I got to get out of this Tesla because imbalances are coming in 4 minutes.
But isn't that the whole thing? Are we not playing for the imbalance on Tesla?
Oh, sorry, move my trailing stop.
okay,
That's
okay.
I didn't mean get out of it. It's just that my stop is at break even. I just want to move my stop in here a little bit tighter. So as it works in the money, I want my stop tighter to 151 instead of a break even stop. That's what.
Yeah, essentially what we're trying to do is kind of play the imbalances here. I suspect the imbalance is going to be sell side based on Tesla's performance and what I think the indexes are going to be doing. So we'll see how Tesla plays out, but he's moving his stops. I mean, Cosm's been fun, but now the real fun starts with the bigger imbalances. So let's quickly go over this before these imbalances come out. This is what we're talking about. When we talk about imbalances, this is kind of our tool to read those imbalances. What happens is at 350, I'll explain this after we come back from Brennan.
Little one trying to make a run here. I was just checking the float on IE on the NYSE ARC exchange. It's about 60 million, so it's actually bigger than Cosm. But doing this right now is IE up 15%. Just took out the highs there.
There's IE. Going back to imbalances on my screen, guys, as Cosm's working 1950. So at 350,
Yes, I didn't short it.
We're going to get information on how many shares need to be bought and sold on the official closing price, right? How do you participate? You send an order with an on-close order tag, so market on close, limit on close, whatever the order tag is, whatever the type of order it is. As long as it's marked as on close, it'll get kind of put together, grouped together, and then at 350, the exchanges send out the information on how many shares need to be bought in each individual stock, right? Today being a rebalance means there's a lot of changes happening across the boards, like maybe Apple's being upweighted. We saw this morning, Apple had a imbalance of, well, what was left of an imbalance of that was at 1.10 or 11 million shares, right? So there's going to be some reweightings happening. There's going to be some pressure in some names. Neil and I are playing for sell-side pressure in Tesla off these imbalances. That's why he's betting. Both of us are betting that Tesla is gonna come out of sell side in some large way. We could be wrong, and if we're wrong, we just dump out, we walk away. That's kind of what we're playing for with that 150 break on Tesla. So this is information from this morning. You see the update time is 9:30. It's going to be like this. It's going to be the symbol, the direction, the size of the imbalance, and then the paired value. So the paired value and the size added together is the total size of the imbalance. But then what they have done is matched some buyers to the opposing side. So if an imbalance has a buy-side imbalance and starts shrinking, that's because somebody's willing to take the other side of it. So as people send in orders to offset the imbalances, they get smaller, and then that goes into the paired value section. So essentially what we care for is how big is it relative to the day's volume, how big is it relative to the book of the stock, can it handle it? So the first update is at 350. The second update that really matters is 355 because that's when you get the floor broker's interest and their clients and who they represent. So if you have a large imbalance that comes out of 350, then that imbalance sticks around or gets larger after 355, then you got some pressure on that name because that means everybody wants to play in that direction, whichever direction that is. Now, we'll see some large numbers. I'm expecting some top-weighted movement. So I think that Tesla goes down, and the names above it go up. So Apple, Microsoft, possibly even Google, both classes, they move up, and then Tesla goes down in weight a little bit. So sell-side imbalance is what I'm thinking for Tesla. We'll play it. And as I say this, Tesla is creeping towards its 150 marker there.
It'd be nice if it broke it.
No. Break it with the imbalance, man.
That's what I'm saying. Broke it at 350.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. Right at
That's
350, if you can take that 150 out, I think that opens a door for a whole host of problems here to the downside. I actually have a bid waiting at 148.5, which I'm going to cancel because I feel like given the timing of the break, if we break 350 now,
hang on.
There's no way I'm going to target this.
I'm getting out if it gets to 148.
All right, here we go. Imbalance is coming out now, and we got... What do we got on Tesla? Everything's freezing on me. LUMN, 19 million shares.
I just got out of Tesla.
Yeah, Tesla's up at 151. I'm out too. Okay, we're going to walk away. I was wrong, so I took my profit. What did I get? 150.91 is what I got. Anyways, Tesla making a move back up. LUMN, sell side.
Microsoft, big sell.
I was wrong in a big way, but again, we walked away from Tesla at the 90s. LUMN, sell side, 18 million shares. WBD, 14.5, all sells. DHC, RITM, all sell side. GOSS, GOSS is a buy. You guys can see it on the screen. We got a ton to go through. I'm just going through the double digits, and then you can see Microsoft, big dog, sell side. Where is it? Right here, 10 million shares to sell. So clearly Tesla was, we got to find Tesla actually. I actually want
Tesla, it was a buy. Tesla, 1.7 million shares to buy. So, I mean, if it had been a sell and I got wicked out of my short, I'd be pissed off, angry, whatever. I can say pissed off.
I mean, we made a play for it, but we were wrong.
This was the issue. Look, we said, like I said, when the imbalances come out, trailing stop on it, it did wick higher on the 1.7 million buy imbalance, so I'm out of it. I got 151, like 60 something, it looks like. So it's not like it's a losing trade, but Microsoft was a much bigger imbalance. Like, look at Softy. Softy just cratered $3 on that imbalance. I got to scroll up so you can see Microsoft up here. Keep going, keep going. 10 million shares to sell on Microsoft. Rivian's 10 million shares as well, but 10 million shares of Microsoft versus 10 million shares of Rivian is obviously a different story. I think you guys can all understand that. And you know what? I got to do this one because I'm congratulating myself. All I can say is I'm not short Cosm right now.
That's a win, right? That's a win.
That's a win.
Yeah.
That's a win. Because under normal circumstances, I would have shorted in front of 20 and got run over another time. However, I sat this one out. And at least, you know what, if you're going to be wrong, just don't always be wrong. Every now and then, make a good decision. And getting out of the way of this one will have been a good decision. I just can't believe it. I'm a little bit dumbfounded. There's massive imbalances out there, and I can't take my eyes off the stock because it might go in another halt. And if Cosm halts here because it's past 350, it will not reopen in 5 minutes. In fact, if it halts within the last 10 minutes, it will reopen at 4 o'clock. The closing print will be a reopen print if it goes into a halt now. So if you're trading it or you're still in it, just understand that you'd be holding it to 4 o'clock if it goes into another halt.
You know what?
Choke up here. This stock is crazy.
I've changed my mind about Tesla, actually. I'm actually going to try and get back in here. The reason being, I suspect that we're actually going to flip this imbalance at 350. 355. So I re-entered my short. I got out. I locked in the profit. Then I'm like, you know what? Something's off. I'm getting right back in. So I'm short at 150.82, and I want to see what happens at 355. I do feel like Tesla's imbalance is actually is going to go from a buy to a sell, and we're going to break that 150 at 355. We'll see. I'm putting up the money to see it, so we'll see how that one goes. If I'm wrong, out the door once again very, very quickly. But for now, it is struggling here at 150 and change. Adobe, by the way, this is what I was trying to avoid on Adobe, but I was trying to avoid the upside of this. Obviously, we were looking for we were short, looking for the ride down, and then it started stabilizing at 140, and we're like, okay, I don't want to deal with the imbalances at this point. And then what does it do when the imbalances come out? It goes from 341 all the way down below 338 and change. So this is what can happen on a name that's very, very thin. I'm perfectly okay. I don't care if it broke now, but I'm perfectly okay not being a part of Adobe with the imbalances. And then Cosm back towards 20. Don't get itchy to take a shot on the short side just because it's under 20 there, Neil. Because I know this is looking pretty juicy now that we've backed off these 20.
Why did you even bring it up, man?
I mean,
I wasn't even going to be looking at it. And
yeah.
now I'm like, that is like, whatever, it doesn't matter. That's like textbook.
You got other things to do,
No,
though,
that's
right?
textbook.
Yeah.
You know what? I actually don't see anything that I might be in at the close. I know you have conviction in getting back into that Tesla trade. I looked at Microsoft for the long in case that paired, and look, I'm not going to. Cosm's going into a down halt here. So, okay, well, it was about to go into a downward halt, resisted the halt band, and is bouncing higher. But it's done a real capitulation, and that capitulation was through 20. However, if you were short 20, you had to hold it up to, what, 21.75. So, you know, about 10% risk there. Give a plus slippage would have been your risk. So you're looking at this needing to come back 16, 17, I think, until you've got yourself a bit of a win. I was thinking about Microsoft. If it could hold the low there and maybe that imbalances will hold off. But because it's 355, if that pairs off now, there might be an opportunity off the low of the day because it hasn't really broken that low. We'll see what happens. It is overall, it was a buy imbalance overall.
Yeah, overall, it's buy. I'm just keeping an eye on Tesla. What are you doing, Tesla? Are we going to get the break now? Because it wasn't much. Let me get the quick update on Tesla's move here. TSRS, where's Tesla? Right here. Still a buy. It shrunk, though. It shrunk down to 43,000, and there goes Cosm back up towards 21 or 22 and change. You know what? I'm taking Tesla. It's going to be pretty much, I'm still going to make money on this regardless. If it ends up back above 151, I'll walk away from it. But for now, I'm going to play this 82 short towards 150 on the break going into the end of the day. Imbalance has gotten small enough where I think it's not going to make a difference anymore. They've kind of paired off 14 million shares. So we'll see what happens.
I should not even have a level 2 of Cosm right now because I was just saying 355 when imbalances give the update. Microsoft hasn't broken the low. It could flip there, pair off, and then you have yourself a great long. Well, it's gone now because it just bounced off the low and retraced $2.50 or $2 instantly. But you got to be all over it at 355 to be able to catch something in the 44 low range instead of looking at Cosm, which, by the way, made another high of the day. Because I still can't take my eyes off the damn thing. It just continues to make high after high. This might be any real pullback might have to wait until Monday for this stock. It just might be the absolute truth, and it might make another move at 4 o'clock, something along those lines. But wow, what an unbelievable rally this has been.
Ooh, look at
3 minutes to go. This is what I'm going to be watching here.
That's the Goss. That one stuck around. Yeah, Goss. It was a buy side imbalance, and it stuck around. It came out. It jumped from 220 to from 220 all the way up to 275, and then it stuck around after 355, and now we're trading above that and making a move. And the imbalance is still there on Goss here of 6.4 million shares, large interest. That's nearly 30 million shares that they want to kind of run into the imbalance here. So remember Lumen, LUMN, and some other names that were on the sell side? It seems like most of them are gone. At least they've paired, but Goss is still there. So I definitely keep an eye on this one. I'm going to keep an eye on this one. And there goes Tesla taking a shot, and they're really grinding their way through, and I think this might be my opportunity here. It's a low-risk shot. Remember, it was a re-entry off the original position that was priced at 151.25. So we're doing a low-risk shot here, 82 ins, just north of 51 outs. And then if we can get that 50 break, I'm going to take this out in as close as possible to 4 o'clock going into the end of the day. I know the imbalances are fairly small as well. They've paired nearly 14 million shares of that. So we'll see if we get that break as we're heading right into 4 o'clock. If not, I mean, I'm still going to walk away positive regardless of what happens with this trade. But preferably, though, let's get that 150 break going.
$23 it just got to. So this is where I'm at least 2 minutes to go. I kind of, like, Microsoft would have been the play had I gotten into something there off that low of the day. But the thing about when you get that imbalance like update at 55 and 58, like we're talking about, the algos are so quick to jump on. Like if something goes 10 million to buy, from a 10 million sell to like a 2 million sell, the algos are always going to be faster. So if you don't get the first part of the move, is a limit to how far you want to chase it. So if you miss it, and that's kind of the thing. That's the kind of trade that you know, there was a time, I don't want to say how many years ago, where that same trade was pretty actionable for a human trader, and now the algos will be all over it, which is another opportunity, obviously. But this is now 23 bucks and still going. It just resisted a halt again up at about 23. It looks like it's probably going to carry through to the close here. I doubt it's going to halt. Maybe it will. Maybe it does halt with a minute to go. You don't really see that happen very often, but I've never seen anything quite like the story that we've seen in Cosm today. And I'll be able to tell my daughter, you know what? One day there was this stock that traded at 33 cents. The daddy went long at $4, and then it went to 23, and I lost on the stock. So that was my day. And she'll be like, Daddy, how's that possible? You're an idiot. And I'll be like, you're right, sweetheart. You're right. I should have been long, and I should have held along. What an unbelievable rally this is. It's so much fun to watch. I'll probably be looking at this right up until the close here with under a minute to go, and I don't see anybody ready for the bell. What was that? Everyone in the back was just like, whoa, whoa, what the heck? And I'm like, I'm just looking at Cosm. I have no idea. Probably something happened in one of the big tech names.
I'm just staring at Tesla. Oh, it was probably Goss. Goss, I think, came off quite a bit. I'm still looking at Tesla. Come on, Tesla. We got 20 seconds. Make the move now, man. Come on. Let's go. 150.28, 150.30. I don't want to have to deal with this after market. I can, but I'd rather not.
We got the countdown on, however, so deal with it. I know you want to take care of it there, Arun, with short and Tesla. Good luck with that. If it breaks 150, it could. But 3, 2, and Fahad, ring it. Did it break? It did not break 150, Tesla. See, I didn't.
I had to get 20s out. Damn.
I should have bet you $1, and then at least I could have won a buck there. But what an unreal rally. This ends up closing, I don't know, I didn't see exactly where it closed, but it's above 22. So closed up, how about that? Cosm closed up, I'll give you that. Somewhere around 22 bucks. It's kind of falling off a little bit here, but what an unreal rally that was. It seems like the market was booming because I was staring at this all day long. However, that's not exactly how we finished up here, Brendo. I don't know if you're ready, but maybe not the best overall day for the market, but if you were along that, Cosm, I guess it was fine.
Crazy mover all day long, man. We'll see what happens on Monday with COSM. It's going to be a couple of days here worth of a rally. Here we go. This is the board to end the day. 1.12 for the S&P 500, 0.85 there for the Dow. All three Russells, 1, 2, 3,000, all down significantly. The composite NASDAQ and 100 down about 1% when all is said and done. So, yep, red week right across the board, guys.
Red week, but definitely opportunities out there abound. Obviously, thank you, Arun, for filling in for Sean for a couple of days. We got pretty close, and we didn't quite hit 1,500 on the likes, by the way. It's like 14 and change. However, you still have a chance to hit the likes, but there was a super chat earlier that someone asked for it because they were having a bad day. And if you're having a bad day and you send a super chat in there, then I got a little something for you. I'm not going to give any hints on this one, but this is one of my favorite artists out there. She a tiger in the shirt, yeah, she won't play. Rottweiler on my shirt, that's Givenchy. In them YSL heels, she'll stare at the pavement. A see-through top, that's a fashion statement. You a classy girl, but when we get them lights out, hot damn, you a nasty girl. Janet Jackson in my 2-room suite. Anytime, any place, no control when we ruin the sheets. Where my pretty girls at? My 2-door coupe, but see the couple in the back. Baby, voulez-vous? Couché avec the kid, we'll say that we didn't. Tell you girls, curiosity killed the kitten, yeah. Only problem is the paparazzi caught me outside the hotel telling me grazie. Armani Casa sheets in the tub, Versace. The whole world loves to watch me. I just can't help it. R less. That's my favorite contemporary artist of all time. I love you, Ryan Leslie, shout out. That dude is the man. You probably don't know him, but I love him, which means you had to hear him.
I mean, I've heard of one of Brian Leslie's songs, but it wasn't that one.
That's I did a fabulous verse off of Ryan Leslie's song, and then was like, I like Ryan Leslie, so I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna do Ryan Leslie because that's my jam. Thank you guys so much. Shout out to everybody. I want to go down the line. The whole show, Fahad's been doing a lot of work editing, running jokes. We had a great argument this morning, which we can't really fill you in on because whatever.
Controversial.
It was a bit controversial, but as usual, Fahad was keeping us light. Luca's doing a fantastic job on the 1s and 2s. Shout out to Sharif and Luca doing a fantastic. They're not there now. They're at their trading desk. doing a great job on the midday show. I can't tell you how fantastic it's been to be able to watch them, crushing it as always. Brendan giving us the news. Any big plans for the weekend? The weather kind of sucks. What are you doing, brother?
Were you asking me? Or
Of course.
Okay, sorry, I can't really hear. Nothing major. We do have dinner plans tonight. We're going to go out for the first time in a while, so I'm kind of looking forward to that, but nothing major, no. How about you guys?
Well, I'm on a flight out of here tomorrow, so yeah, I'm in New York.
NYC, baby.
Yeah, so I'll be gone until, I'll be back next Friday when Sean takes his next day off. So
Nice.
Darwin, I'll keep you updated on in the chat. It's like what I'm doing and what I've eaten. He wanted to know where I've gone, so definitely on deck for that.
It's all about the Broadway, man. I'm just excited you get to go to Broadway. I'm a big theater guy. I'm actually not doing too much, but there is like a good friend of mine is in town from Texas, so a bunch of us, and Sean will be there too, are getting together because he's having a party for his daughter. So all of our kids are going to get together, which is cool. Like we have a group of friends from high school that all hang out with each other still. So when one of them is in town from out of the country, you know it gets the entire group together. So that'd be a heck of a lot of fun for me. I just like hanging out with friends. So enjoy your weekend. The World Cup final is on. It's going to be, I think it'll be a fantastic match. Mbappe's probably going to score a goal. We'll see what happens. But enjoy your weekend. This is Trader TV Live. We'll see you back at 8:30 for round 2 on Cosm.